a monster. With countless blood-red eyes, it roared across the sky. The gloomy year of 2045. Earth was facing brutal creatures, horrifying ones. Many soldiers who joined the battle had lost their lives. They stood no chance against those sharp claws. That giant monster, just like that, stared down at the fallen on the battlefield. But in that moment, the young man was pale with fear from its attack. Is this the end? He collapsed to his knees before those razor-sharp claws, as if surrendering to his fate. But who would have expected another young man to charge in, slicing through the monster's tentacle with his sword? It too was astonished, its eyes widening as it stared at the round hole in its body. Soon after, the monster saw red, aiming its sharp claws straight at the young man. He frowned, unleashing sharp slashes that diced the tentacles into pieces. One monster still refused to give up. It swung a massive tentacle towards where the young man was standing. He squinted his eyes, looking at the enormous object right above his head. The young man immediately pulled out a gun and fired straight at the tentacle. This person was none other than the commander of Earth's last defense force, Han Sung. He turned his head and said, "Get up. I'll take it from here." The man he just saved, hearing this, snapped out of his daze. He quickly raised his rifle and fired relentlessly at the monster. Meanwhile, Han Sung advanced, shouldering a long rifle. And now, after endless battles, only a few survivors remained. With a grim face, Han Sung drew the rifle back to build momentum. He dropped to one knee, aiming straight ahead. Our target is right in front of us. Suddenly, a golden magic circle appeared right in front of the monster. Han Sung was stunned by this bizarre thing. What the hell, he wondered. Before he could get an answer, he was sucked inside it without warning. A second later, his comrades saw Han Sung disappear and frantically turned, yelling, "Commander!" Meanwhile, in a strange space filled with chains, a mysterious voice echoed, "Answer the summons, Han Sung." He was suddenly wrapped in countless chains around his neck, making it harder and harder to breathe. Han Sung, his body bound in midair, looked in terror at the murmuring crowd before him. "I can't believe it. We actually succeeded." So this is the legendary Otherworld hero. He glanced at the iron shackles on his hands. "What are these glowing chains? Where am I?" Just then a man removed his hood, approached and said, "Otherworld hero, welcome to the Empire." He could only listen in silence to these strange words. The man stroked his beard, his tone earnest. "I know this is sudden, but please defeat the Demon King and save our world." Han Sung frowned in confusion. "Demon King? What are you talking about? Where am I? Who are you people? This isn't the time for nonsense. I'm supposed to be in Korea." The man quickly extended a palm crackling with magical energy as a threat. Silence. A second later, bolts of lightning quickly struck Han Sung as the man chanted, "The restraining oath has been activated." He controlled the magic in the air, offering a few words of warning. "Don't resist. If you cooperate while I'm being nice, this magic won't harm you." Han Sung gasped, for breath tears streaming down his face, cursing internally. "Since when were you being nice?" Then the man dusted off his hands, making his plea. "Please destroy the Demon King." He threw a sword down into the magic circle on the floor, emphasizing each word, "and save our empire. If you agree, we can send you back to your world. Will you accept this offer?" Although it was a question after he finished speaking, the people here stared daggers at Han Sung. He bit his lip, his brow furrowed. He was in an extremely difficult situation. Han Sung had no other choice. He could only agree. "Fine, I'll do it." And so, Han Sung was summoned to a completely unfamiliar world to fight as the Otherworld hero of an empire. He worked tirelessly, participating in countless expeditions. Time and time again, Han Sung swung his sword, slaughtering hordes of beasts, completing every one of the Empire's countless missions. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. He sacrificed his youth to kill the Demon King Vanlor. Was Han Sung finally free? Every night he dreamed of what he would do when he returned home. But then the man made another request of Han Sung. "I will tell you your next mission." Han Sung, standing behind him, complained, "That's not what you promised." The man took a sip of tea and continued. "Saving the Empire isn't just about killing the Demon King. There are still those who oppose the unification of the Empire. They must be eliminated. We cannot let the opposition rise. You just need to handle this one threat. Kill him, the Night Kingdom of Teloria's Abdel. Then you will be free." The man glanced over, a smirk on his face. "Help us just a little longer." Han Sung. He wanted to resist, but the chains on his neck controlled him. What choice does a chained dog have? "You goddamn bastards!" And so the flames of war erupted everywhere once again. When will this ever end? At the Night Kingdom of Teloria, Han Sung and Badeo were now crossing swords. After a while, he successfully plunged his sword into the man. Badeo cried out in pain. I can't believe you're so foolish." Han Sung pulled out his sword, his voice listless. "I didn't have a choice." "I'm sorry, Badeo." The man questioned Otherworld hero. Han Sung, right? Badeo, covered in sweat, continued, "Don't apologize to me." Han Sung. He slid down the castle wall. His next words stunned Han Sung into silence. "Because soon enough you'll be thrown away too." Han Sung sighed, raising his palm and muttering, "It's over. I'm finally going home." But he didn't realize Brandon Buok was already behind him. Suddenly, 2 golden threads wrapped around Han Sung's neck, startling him. The old man approached and plunged a sword into Han Sung's chest, catching him completely off guard. A dangerous voice rang out. "Well done, Otherworld hero." Han Sung hunched over, coughing up fresh blood, calling out the name Count Brandon Buok. The old man sneered. "Han Sung, you've fought wonderfully all these years. You've served just like a loyal hunting dog of our empire. The general and the holy knights acknowledge it." He stared wide-eyed, struggling to curse, "You cowardly, self-righteous bastards. So it was all a lie. You never intended to let me go home." Brandon Buok pulled the sword from Han Sung's body, sending blood flying. He questioned, "Why would we? You're just a hunting dog that only knows how to bite." As Han Sung's body fell to the ground, the old man laughed mockingly. "Farewell, Han Sung." With hazy eyes, he swore to himself, "I knew they wouldn't let me go that easily. But goddammit, you will never forget this humiliation." Suddenly, a bright light flashed from Han Sung's body. He held the grudge in his heart. "I will make this damn empire pay with its utter destruction." That night, one life closed its eyes, and another life was born. At that moment, a newborn baby opened its eyes. Cheers rang in his ears. "Congratulations, my lady, it's a boy." Drenched in sweat, she reached out to hold the tiny hand, whispering, "My darling child, I'm your mother." Han Sung, in the body of the baby, now Dale, looked at the couple before him in surprise. "Who are they? I've seen these faces before." He squeezed his eyes shut as he was caressed. It didn't take long for him to realize. "I remember now," Han Sung thought to himself. "That man is the necromancer, and the most powerful dark mage, one of the 6 dukes, Duke Sesung. And this place must be the center of the Empire's forbidden arts. The necropolis where the Black Tower is located. The one-time use stone of rebirth has been activated. It was something he had hidden away, a forbidden item, prepared to break free from his hunting dog chains. And the body he reincarnated into, it was all fate. But he never expected to be reborn as the eldest son of the Duke Sesung family, one of the most prestigious noble families in the Empire." Dale smiled with amusement. "So this time I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, huh?" He thought of the Emperor and Brandon Buok. "Once I grow up and master necromancy, I'll wipe out all those Imperial bastards." Alan seemed a bit bewildered. "Midwife, the baby isn't crying at all." She rubbed her chin thoughtfully. "How strange. His breathing is clear, but the young master isn't making a sound." The lady was also worried. "Could you please check his condition carefully?" Dale pursed his lips proudly. "I'm not a child. Why would I cry so easily?" The midwife held him in her arms and checked him over. "His breathing is stable, no need to worry." Elaine frowned and asked, "Isn't a child not crying considered a bad omen?" She reassured him, "Don't worry, my lord. But if you really want the young master to cry..." The midwife gave his bottom a sharp slap. She smiled brightly and said, "You can just spank his bottom until he cries." Dale was stunned by the sudden blow. It was both painful and embarrassing. The other 2 saw his pale face and laughed. "What a stubborn little guy. He must have inherited your strong will, my lord." The couple looked at Dale happily. She reached out her hand, saying, "Here, let me." He turned pale, silently cursing, "You idiot. Your son is perfectly fine, you know." Elena then held him face down, raising her arm high. Dale squeezed his eyes shut, bracing himself for another blow and cursing inwardly. But instead, she gently rubbed his tiny bottom, surprising him. Dale took a deep breath, taking in everything about this place. The moment the warmth of her gentle hand touched his skin, an image of Han Sung flashed in his mind. He suddenly remembered something. He lifted his shirt, wiping his own wound and muttering, "When was the last time I felt such warmth?" In his previous life, Han Sung could only rely on himself lonely, taking care of himself. Now he was Dale. The soft, slightly trembling hand of the young noble lady, his new mother, radiated a love that he hadn't had for years. Han Sung, who had never shed a tear since he could remember, could no longer hold back his tears. He sobbed uncontrollably, just as a newborn child should. Elaine sat on the bed and said softly, "It's been 8 years since Dale was born, hasn't it? Time really does fly." Elena nodded in agreement. "It does. Is Dale still in his room since he turned 4? The boy has never been far from his books." He took her hand, his expression fond. "He must take after his mother. It seems he started to take an interest in magic." Elena suddenly brushed her hair behind her ear and said, "Ah, you still remember, don't you? The vow between us." He thought of Dale reading a book and replied, "You mean the promise? Not to pass on necromancy to Dale, right?" She smiled happily. "You remember," Alan affirmed confidently. "Of course I do. My love, don't worry. Dale's birthday is tomorrow. I'm preparing a gift for our son. Suddenly, a knock on the door surprised him. Who could be visiting at this hour? Just then, a frantic maid burst in, shouting, "My lord in the study!" "Young Master Dale," Her next words left the couple utterly shocked. Calls echoed from all over. Elaine hurriedly pushed the door open, asking, "Son, are you all right?" At that moment, the boy was kneeling, magical energy radiating around him. Dale turned his head and said, "Mother, father." Elena, frightened, clung to her husband's clothes, stammering, "Dale!" She rushed over to check him. "Are you hurt anywhere? What on earth happened?" Dale grimaced but still answered politely, "I'm fine, Mother." Meanwhile, Elaine, with a serious face, raised his hand to check the spiritual energy. "I can feel the mana spreading in the air." Dale is only 8 years old. Elena, on the other side, was still deeply distressed. Dale tried to squirm away. "Please let me go." Suddenly, his father clasped his hands behind his back, approaching Dale with a menacing aura. "Were you the one who released the mana in your body?" The question terrified the boy. "I knew it. Father would find it strange. I'm toast. I didn't expect the mana to erupt so soon." Dale trembled, stammering, his heart pounding in panic. "If I don't answer quickly, Father might suspect my true identity." Contrary to what he thought, Elaine smiled gently. He patted the boy's head, praising him. "That's my boy. It's a real shame that I can't teach you necromancy." These words made Dale very curious. "He can't teach me necromancy. Then what about my revenge?" Elena, standing nearby, suddenly interjected. "The servants will clean this up. Go back to your room." He sighed helplessly and obeyed. "Yes, Mother." Dale then hugged his book and left. Elaine went to his wife's side, calling Elena. "I just thought of a gift for Dale." A while later, at Dale's birthday celebration, people stood in the hall, whispering excitedly, "Even the Count is here." "Well, it is the young master's birthday." "Of course I had to be here. It seems all the nobles from the Duke Sesyung's territory have gathered." "When is the young master going to appear?" "Yeah, it's been a long time since we had such a grand banquet." The guest of honor. Dale was sitting thoughtfully in the second-floor hall, listening to the chatter. "Looks like the party is starting later than planned." "It's certainly lively." He felt extremely tired. "I never imagined so many people would gather just to celebrate my birthday. Maybe because I got used to being treated coldly when I was the hero. The way they treat me like a young master still feels so forced. But that incident with the table still bothers me. I can't believe that just by remembering my time as the hero. The mana inside me exploded so violently. No matter how I think about it with this power, missing out on necromancy is a real waste. How can I convince Father? I heard Mother say he's already thought of a gift. Maybe I can use this opportunity to ask Father to teach me necromancy instead of a gift. Nah, that would probably still be too difficult." At that moment, Elena, in a noble gown, approached, waving her hand and saying, "Have you been waiting long, Dale?" He happily called out, "Mother." She smiled brightly and replied, "Congratulations on turning 8. Dale looked at the cloaked figure standing next to Elena. "Who is that behind you?" he asked curiously. Elena raised a hand, reminding him, Go on and say hello." The mysterious figure began to slowly pull back their hood. "This person is an elder of the Blue Magic Tower, a master of water system magic. The great sage Sevia," Elena revealed more. "She will be your instructor from now on." Dale was surprised. Sevia also smiled warmly. "It's a great honor to assist you." She gave a wink and whispered to him, "Happy birthday, son. An elder from the Blue Tower as my teacher. Does that mean Mother wants me to learn water magic, which specializes in defense and support? As I thought, Mother doesn't want me to learn dark magic." Sevia spread her arms and said, "Dale, may I have a private word with you for a moment?" He replied shyly, "Yes, Lady Sevia." Not long after, they were standing in a place covered in white snow. Sevia's voice echoed, "I'm not sure if you've heard, but I've been tasked with teaching you water system magic. Don't you feel it's a pity? Surely there's another type of magic you'd rather learn?" Dale asked in surprise, "How did you know?" She held up a finger and said, "Wanting to learn necromancy, your father's dark magic, is perfectly understandable. However, the condition of Duke Sesyung's marriage is known throughout the empire. When Lady Elena was proposed to by the Duke, she was terrified of his cruel reputation. So to reassure her, he swore an oath not to pass his curse onto his children. I still remember the wedding day, when the elders of the Black Tower shed their familiar black robes and all wore pure white garments to witness that vow. Because it's a marriage bound by such a sacred pact, you cannot learn dark magic for the time being, but I will find a way to convince Lady Elena eventually. Are you willing to learn under my guidance?" Dale spoke up hesitantly. "But aren't you afraid of dark magic? Or necromancy? And you're an elf, a race that always respects the laws of nature. An act that goes against nature like raising the dead." Sevia laughed. "How interesting," she mused. "What about priests who save the dying? Is what they do in accordance with nature's will? He listened silently to her point of view. Necromancy or resurrection. In my eyes, they are no different. Dale suddenly realized something. Sevilla is far from being conventionally prejudiced. Perhaps she will be a teacher beyond my expectations. She suggested, well then, shall we begin the lesson? I heard that a few days ago. You managed to form a small fragment of a mana circle. Our first goal will be to expand that fragment, to complete a first circle of mana. Dale was very surprised and looked up. Oh, a first circle. Coincidentally, most of the magic books I've read recently require reaching that level to practice. Well then, on this occasion, I'll finally be able to create my first circle. Sevilla began her instructions. Place your hand on your heart and focus your mind. He followed her instructions perfectly. Yes, master. Then Dale slowly opened his eyes. This place is a different world from Earth. This place is filled with mana. However, except for ancient beings like dragons, directly controlling raw mana is impossible. Therefore, I need a mana circle in my heart, a structure like a filter, to refine raw mana before using it. It gathers the scattered mana fragments around the heart and assembles them into a complete circle. Then it makes that circle rotate steadily around the heart. Dale felt it, the circle surrounding him. So, he whispered, a mana circle is the path to etch the flow of mana into the heart. I just need to do exactly as Master Sevilla says. Outside, she was still teaching. Starting with the first step, practice controlling the flow of mana, rotating it around your heart sequentially and steadily. Normally, this process takes at least a month, so don't rush it. Dale opened his eyes, looked down at his palm, and mumbled, Master. Instantly, a blue circle appeared, astonishing even himself. Hey, I did it. Sevilla was just as stunned, exclaiming, What? She watched his small hands controlling the mana, bewildered. Bewildered. A child who just started training was able to create a circle in just a few minutes. If this child truly possesses such a natural gift, then Sevilla covered her mouth with her hand, asking curiously, Can you try releasing the mana along that circle? Dale immediately closed his eyes, gathering energy into the circle. At the same time, he said, I'll try. Master. He generated a source of magic thinking. If it were a normal kid just managing to release mana, through the circle would be tiring enough. With just that, not only would I be unable to get revenge on the Empire, but it would also be hard to keep up with Duke Sejong. In my past life, I only used magic sigils carved into my body to cast damaging spells for combat. But this time is different. This body inherited the abilities of the Master of the Black Tower, so it can absorb mana naturally. Maybe I can learn not only the water system, but also other types of magic. A source of energy started to course through my body. Dale told himself, all right, focus, guide the mana that has entered my body. Let it flow to my fingertips, and create a shard, aimed straight at the throat of the Empire. As soon as enough mana was gathered, he opened his eyes and pointed 2 fingers forward. The image of Han Sung from his past life also appeared. In an instant, a gleaming sharp block of ice was formed by Dale. Sevilla was stunned, swallowing hard as she thought. Generally, when mana is compressed in the body and then released, the form of the mana is usually broken, but he crystallized the mana and created a relatively complete ice orb. Because he focused on the form, the destructive power might be a bit lacking. She stood from a distance, meticulously observing his every move. After finishing the incantation, Dale aimed the block of ice straight at the base of a nearby ancient tree. It immediately created a blinding explosion, snapping the tree in two. Sevilla turned her head, stunned, watching the ancient tree topple onto the white snow. Tension began to show clearly on her face. Sevilla glanced at Dale, silently questioning. Sharp and hard enough to pierce a tree trunk. This isn't the kind of precision an 8-year-old child should be able to display. Just who is that child? At that moment, he was raising his hand, waving slightly, with a bright smile on his face. Sevilla knelt and lightly touched the wood, exclaiming, My goodness. I thought. The boy had only reached the level of moving mana, but he was able to release mana and perfectly integrate the ice element into it. Like this. Even though it's only basic magic, he was able to cast a spell that completely absorbs the surrounding cold air so flawlessly. Seeing her looking so stunned, Dale asked timidly, Ma'am, did I do something wrong? Hearing this, Sevilla turned her head and smiled gently. She looked at his apologetic face and thought, for an innocent child to unconsciously create something like that. The sophistication of the formula is truly extraordinary. Sevilla imagined again, the source of magic swirling in the air, then gathering together, accelerating to form a sharp block of ice. The boy's face before that spiritual circle suddenly appeared. These 3 formulas. This is the golden ratio for military-grade magic. Sevilla stared intently at Dale, who was touching his index fingers together, questioning, could the boy have unconsciously replicated and cast a magic spell of such complete lethal damage like that? Once again he called out, Ma'am. Sevilla unconsciously raised her hand and stammered, it's nothing. Now I understand why Duke Sejong felt so regretful. Not long after she was sitting and drinking tea in a large room, Elaine's voice echoed. You're saying you can't teach Dale why a child who achieves a complete circle in just a few minutes should be nurtured all the more, shouldn't he? Young Master Dale, just after successfully forming the circle, immediately cast a complete lethal damage magic spell. Hearing this, the man froze on the spot. She imagined someone being hit by those blows and explained, it's hard to believe it was created by an 8-year-old child. A spell containing the golden ratio of a military-grade magic formula. The innocent face of Dale after taking down a person flashed through her mind. She stated firmly, My Lord Duke, young Master Dale has a talent for killing. Seeing this, Elaine rubbed his chin and mumbled, As an elder of the Blue Tower, a place that reveres the path of non-killing, are you using that as a reason to refuse to teach the boy? Sevia took a sip of hot tea and replied, Not at all. She thought of when Dale was happy with the magic in his hands and continued, It's precisely because he is like that I want to teach him myself, to guide that child on the right path. He frowned, confused, and said, Then there's even less reason to refuse. Sevia unexpectedly dropped a line that hit Elan right where it hurt. His face turned pale. The dark magic of the Duke, young Master Dale, seems to already have a magic that he wants to learn. A love story involving you, Duke. I've heard about it too. I respect your promise with Lady Elena, but that doesn't mean you have the right to decide your son's future. For someone with such extraordinary talent as the young master, it's even more impossible. My Lord Duke. At the same time, Dale was eavesdropping outside the door, but he was dejected. I can't hear what they're saying clearly. Dale slid down the wall, guessing, but they're definitely talking about me, right? He remembered Sevia's shocked expression and felt surprised. I can't believe my first spell was that powerful. Even Sevia seemed incredibly surprised. I need to be more careful about controlling my power from now on. Suddenly, a dark shadow appeared right in front of him, making Dale look up. His mood changed in an instant, and he shouted happily, Dale looked at the man, smiling awkwardly in front of him, and cheered. Uncle Hemet. The man just scratched his head and asked, What are you doing here, kid? He stood up and questioned back, And where did you just come from? Helmuth reached out, picked up Dale, and laughed. To fulfill my duty of protecting the territory, of course. The man lifted the boy high, excitedly recounting, I just wiped out a horde of terrifying monsters. The boy guessed excitedly, So you just conquered a dungeon. Dale's eyes suddenly became thoughtful, like a grown-up lost in deep thought. In this world, the appearance of dungeons or the rampant spread of magical beasts are matters of state, from the time the Demon King existed until now, because the damage caused by the monsters is no small matter. The knights of the territory must conquer the dungeons. Unexplored dungeons in the Demon King's territory. Their main mission is to exterminate the magical beasts that pour out from the dungeons, especially the Duchy of Sachsen, where the situation is many times more serious than in other territories. He remembered his image when he was still Han Sung in his previous life, blaming himself, and the cause of all that was me. In my past life, after the hero from another world defeated the Demon King, the Duke of Sachsen was granted the Demon King's lands, and received orders to subjugate the magical beasts there, to turn it into territory for the Empire. Returning to the present, Dale looked away annoyed, silently complaining in professional terms. They call it taking out the trash. As soon as he was put down, he reminded Helmut, Don't get hurt, okay? The man laughed teasingly. Is the young master worried about me? Suddenly a voice rang out. What a delightful sight. The two saw the person emerging and turned their eyes that way. Dale softly called, Father. Helmuth stammered loudly, Your Grace the Duke. The man folded his arms, his eyes passing over them in praise. This expedition must have been hard on you. At that moment, Elena and some maids approached. She said cheerfully, Oh, is everyone gathered here? The three of them glanced over. The boy wondered curiously, Why is Mother here? Elena covered her mouth with her hand and softly called her son Dale. She quickly bent down. Caressing his cheek, she praised him. I heard you successfully cast a circle, didn't you? Oh, my dear, you're so talented. And Ellen also added, Congratulations, Dale. Elena turned back and winked at him. If there's anything you desire, just tell your father. But this sentence made him think. If I say I want to learn necromancy, would that be too manipulative? What do kids this age usually want? He pondered for a moment. Dale casually dropped a sentence that stunned the two of them. I want a little sister. Ellen, flustered, said quietly, All right, I'll do my best. The boy chuckled, Yes, father. The soldiers standing nearby couldn't help but laugh at the scene. A soldier turned and gently reminded Helmuth, Please don't laugh, Captain. Time passed by. Not long after, the full moon reached its zenith, illuminating the entire area. Dale was sprawled out on his bed, silently lamenting having to act innocent at this age. Is truly a pain. I must be a little tired from using magic. Just as he fell into a dream, his eyes from his past life shot wide open, exuding terror. It was the scene of Brandon Book stabbing Han Sung, from behind replaying in his mind. The old man's voice echoed. Nice to see you again, Han Sung. How long has it been? He in pain couldn't form words. You. Brandon Book twisted the knife, pushing it deeper, lifting Han Sung's entire body. Humans are so deceitful, aren't they? How could you change so quickly? Are you happy? Living with kind parents in that warm house? With a warm back and a full stomach. You must think revenge isn't important anymore, right? The old man radiated killing intent, emphasizing every word. The Empire will find you. Han Sung, they will hunt you until they finish you off, until every trace of you disappears from this world. But overcome with fear, Dale suddenly woke up, his breathing extremely difficult. At the same time, a quantity of magic appeared right before his chest. It began to accumulate in Dale's chest, making him extremely uncomfortable. My heart feels like it's going to explode. Is this the legendary phenomenon of a mana overload? Dale, clutching his chest with one hand, struggled to go outside, silently cursing those damn bastards from the Empire. Will they really not let me go until the very end? Thinking that getting some cold air outside would make it better, he hugged his body tightly, panting and wondering, but why is it only getting worse? Suddenly, Sophia appeared right behind Dale. You look like you're in great pain, she said, startling Dale completely. He turned his head back to look at that familiar face. Miss Sophia, he questioned. At that moment, she was creating a source of magic. Then she suddenly realized a mana overload. Wow, what a gifted child. But I still can't shake this feeling of unease. Then she extended her palm and gently touched Dale's chest. Her magic directly dispersed the energy accumulating inside him. Sophia, with half-closed eyes, worried silently. If one day this child's magic becomes tainted with malice, I fear there will be no saving him. As for Dale, he was still naively looking at the small circle of spiritual power on his hand, thinking the mana overload is gone. A second later, Sophia called out, Dale. Confused, he looked up and replied, yes. She glanced to one side, explaining, the nature of magic is a mirror that reflects the soul. Therefore, even with the same spell, each mage expresses it with a unique nuance. Your magic carries the power to steal life, an incredibly dangerous power. That's why I feel truly fortunate to be the one to teach you. Dale took the book from Sophia, asking curiously, yes, what is this? He looked at the spiritual power surrounding it and questioned. This is a grimoire on the art of necromancy. She smiled brightly and said implicitly, I think our meeting was perhaps destined by fate. Dale innocently listened to the well wishes from Sophia. Happy birthday, Dale. Suddenly he rushed forward and hugged her tightly, causing Sophia to be a bit surprised. She laughed teasingly. You're still so naive and laughably adorable, young master. A few days later, on the plains outside the North Gate, Dale stood behind, asking in surprise, a rabbit? Sophia looked at the white rabbit and calmly replied, that's right. Remember the time you went hunting with your father? He quickly summoned magic in his hand, while answering, yes, ma'am. The white rabbit happened to turn and look at the two of them. It looked bewildered, unaware of what was about to happen to it. At this moment, Dale had created spiritual power in his hand. He swung his arm back to gain momentum. He aimed precisely, then threw the block of ice which shot towards the white rabbit, right where the two were standing. Mysterious circles of yin energy appeared. Sophia carefully observed those small hands, thinking to strike, so decisively yet his fingertips don't even tremble. Then she spoke, Dale. Even with the same type of magic, it is incredibly diverse, depending on the caster. Do you know why? Dale answered honestly, I'm not quite sure yet. Sophia explained, because magic, after all, is a mirror that reflects the inner self. It's using mana to realize what is in one's heart. Therefore, in magic, one cannot hide the landscape of their soul. After hearing this, Dale was silent as a stone. A drop of sweat trickled down his cheek. She closed her eyes and exhaled a cold breath. Even names like firewall or other types of incantations are just ways to help the mind become more resolute. The magic of the magic towers is not much different. The red tower reveres order maintained by power, while the blue tower values the order of ideological harmony. Each tower's pursuit is reflected in the form of their magic. Depending on the principles of each tower, a magic system is established. Besides the red and blue towers, there is also the black tower, the white tower, and the green tower. After speaking, Sophia smiled gently, exhaling a puff of white smoke. But Dale still had a confused look on his face, making her feel helpless. For a child like you, it's probably still too early to understand these things. Dale immediately turned his attention to the ill-fated white rabbit. Surrounded by his spiritual energy, he thought, the most basic art in necromancy is turning a corpse into a slave. It's a magic that uses mana for the caster to control a corpse. He became extremely serious, focusing on his task. At this moment, a series of threads shot out from his hand, shining down on the rabbit. The top of the spine, the right knee. I have to connect the magic threads tightly to those points. A second later, the rabbit's blood-red eyes shot open. Seeing his success, Sophia praised, "Well done, Dale. Can you proceed to the next step?" While controlling it, he replied, "Yes, ma'am." Then Dale gave it his all, creating ice armor on the magic surface. A source of blue energy slowly spread from his eyes. A second later, Dale slammed his palm onto the ground. The whole place shook. Sharp blocks of ice jutted out, forming a circle around the area where he stood. The magic power grew. It quickly formed a sturdy block of ice in front. Just a few minutes later, the white rabbit was equipped on its back, with a layer of ice armor with sharp spikes. Sophia noted the shape of the ice armor looks quite impressive. She simultaneously created 3 small shards of ice. "Let's test its defensive capabilities," she said. A brilliant streak of light instantly shot straight into the ground, cracking it into small pieces. Dale broke into a cold sweat at this power. The 3 ice shards shot past where the rabbit was standing, knocking it backwards as it was caught off guard. The rabbit glanced behind it and saw that the spikes on its armor had been shattered by the recent attack. Dale, however, was happy. He clenched his fists and cheered when he saw it was still alive. "All right, I blocked your arrow." Sophia turned her head and acknowledged, "Good job, Dale. You did very well. It seems like you want to say something. What is it?" He said boldly, "Yes, I want. Please teach me how to use water-type magic more completely." Hearing this, the corner of her mouth twitched up slightly. The sunlight also shone softly on one side of Sophia's face, but her refusal rang out no, leaving Dale dumbfounded. His face fell as he questioned, "Why?" Sophia held up one finger, winked, and then sighed. "What you did today is just an extremely basic form of water magic, like all other types of magic. The more you learn water magic, the more it demands deep and subtle comprehension. For a novice mage, learning just one element is already difficult. Enough! Using 2 elements in parallel is called being a dual-element mage. At your age, that is nearly impossible. From what I see, you are far too greedy." These words were like a thunderclap to Dale. His eyes went wide and his mouth fell open, letting out a small, "Ah!" Dale thought back to when he cast the spell, silently repeating those 2 words in his head. "Greedy? Huh. I've shown that much, and it's still not enough," he said dejectedly. "You were the one who said you'd help me find the path forward." After that, Sophia, caught off guard, stammered, unable to speak. Then she used an excuse to change the subject. "That's enough for today's lesson." That night in the study, Dale was walking forward, holding a stack of books. He placed them on the floor, making a silent resolve. "Even if I'm alone, it's not like I can't do it. I'll prove it." Dale began to busily flip through and read each page, and at the same time his magic power surged violently again. Not long after, a voice calling out repeatedly made Dale groggily open his eyes. Sophia, now worried, asked, "Are you all right? It seems you didn't sleep well last night." Dale lied without even blinking. "I was just preparing a few things, so I stayed up a bit late." Hearing that, she reminded him, "Don't overdo it, Dale." He, with dark circles under his eyes, reached his hand forward, answering, "Yes, ma'am." A magic circle appeared instantly, followed by mystical magic powers. He once again controlled the white rabbit, with its thick ice armor tied to the energy source surrounding it. Sophia turned to look at Dale, who was controlling his energy, and noted he has completely mastered it. Suddenly there was a vibration. From the blocks of ice on the white rabbit, sharp shards of ice shot out together from the armor, flying straight forward together. Looking at the dense cloud of dust and smoke, Sophia wondered, ice burst explosion. The white rabbit then sat still in place. Looking up, it exhaled a source of magic that surprised her even more. "It's not over." Suddenly it transformed into a giant rabbit with a sphere of energy. Right in the middle of its belly, the white rabbit immediately bent over, swallowing that energy source inside. A second later, a terrifying explosion erupted from it. Simultaneously, countless ice spikes shot forward. Bewildered, Sophia created a shield around herself, her eyes wide open looking at the chaos that just occurred. Countless sharp blocks of ice were directly attacking the shield, causing Sophia inside to become even more panicked. Thinking this, not long after, Dale slowly walked up to her. Sophia didn't know what to say. He raised his palm. Creating his energy, he then spoke. "Corpse explosion and ice burst explosion. I've managed to merge the 2 elements, water and dark." Dale summoned 2 parallel sources of spiritual power in his 2 hands, then asked quietly, "Is this enough to be considered a dual-element mage?" All movement nearly stopped after Dale's magic test. Sophia broke into a cold sweat, staring at the ruins of the spell formation. "This is a type of attack I've never seen before." She stood in the middle, analyzing. The combination of the ice armor from ice burst explosion has allowed corpse explosion to create a much wider area of destructive force. Not only that, The sharp shards of ice and bone plunged down like blades. Sophia walked over, bending down to inspect the ice fragments scattered on the ground. She looked towards Dale, her heart filled with unease. This is just like magic honed only for killing, belonging to someone who has lived their entire life on the battlefield. What on earth does the inside of this child's mind look like? Dale turned back, his eyes full of innocence. Oh, seeing Helmuth, he joyfully called out, "Uncle Helmuth." The man raised his hand high to greet them. "Young Master Lady Sophia." Dale saw the military uniform and asked curiously, "Did you just conquer another dungeon?" Helmuth excitedly showed off his achievement. "This time we just eliminated a small-scale group of magical beasts." The Black Armor Knight Brigade had quite a tough time. An image of Sachsen appeared full of power. The Black Knight Order, the invincible army of the Duke of Sachsen. They control the battlefield with spear techniques covered in aura, figures appearing and disappearing, and the one who commands them. Knight Helmuth is one of the 7 swords of the continent. Dale clasped his hands joyfully and reminded him, "You still remember you promised to teach me swordsmanship, right?" In his head he was thinking, to learn the sword from someone like him is an unparalleled honor. Helmuth burst out laughing. "I'm always ready." The boy scratched his head, pleased. "Goodbye then. See you again soon, Uncle." Helmuth didn't talk for long. Helmuth said goodbye to them and turned back. "All right. It's cold, young master. Let's go inside before you catch a cold." Sophia looked towards the castle and told him, "We should head back too." Dale smiled brightly and nodded in agreement. "Yes, master." That evening the conversation began. "What do you mean, Lady Sophia?" She stated blankly, "I am only speaking the truth." The young Master Dale has completely mastered both arts, necromancy and water-type magic. In addition, the boy has reached the first circle of magic. A first circle mage. Ellen rested his chin on his hand, troubled. "Lady Sophia, we clearly only requested that you teach the child water magic," as if guessing the implication behind those words. Sophia told him yes to only teach water magic. "But as a master, I only want to teach what the child yearns to learn." As I've said, what Dale desires is not just water magic. The atmosphere fell silent. It took a moment for Elena to speak. "Then if Dale wishes for it, can we continue to ask for your guidance?" "And with his water magic?" "Yes." Sophia respectfully bowed her head, accepting the offer. "Of course. Then I will continue to help him in the time to come." Elena replied politely, "Yes, thank you." After the discussion, she also quickly left. But before leaving completely, Sophia stopped to apologize. "I sincerely apologize for forcing you, my lady, to break the Black Duke's covenant." After she was completely gone, Elena stretched and said in admiration, "Our boy is truly no ordinary child. Only 8 years old and already a dual-element mage. Sometimes he even gives me the shivers." "But that's my son, all right." Ellen's face darkened. He glanced at her and called softly, "Elena." He lowered his head dejectedly, stating his desire to ask for her opinion. "I want to pass on the art of necromancy to Dale. As a lord, I want the boy to be strong enough to bear the responsibility of succession. As a mage, I want a worthy disciple. And as a father, I just want to pass on everything I have to my son." Ellen held his head, agonizing over the mistake in this decision. "I am truly sorry, my love." "My lady?" Elena was extremely worried because societal prejudice is too heavy. But people still look at necromancy with eyes of fear and contempt. Everyone whispers that it's the magic of death. That's the only reason I stopped you. So please train our son to be a mage strong enough to make them all shut their mouths." The deep intention in her words made Ellen fall silent. "Do you understand?" Immediately after, he pulled Elena into a loving embrace. "I understand, my lady. I will give it my all to make our son the strongest." And so the first day of the special necromancy training began. Before anything, Dale was already being scolded. "I'm disappointed, Dale. You still summon without understanding what it is you're controlling." Dale pouted and silently retorted, "But that's everything Master taught me." In the basement of Sachsen Castle, the Black Duke's magic chamber. As soon as Dale had just demonstrated what he learned from his master, Ellen just clicked his tongue and immediately brought him here. He pointed his finger and commanded harshly, "Once you study under me, never perform such crude magic again. Start by memorizing the entire structure of the bones and muscles of every living creature." "Do you understand?" Dale shuddered. Though he didn't want to, he didn't dare to argue. "Yes, Father. The books Father gave me, and even in my past life, only medical specialists would have read them. And after a few days, I've memorized them word for word." After the test was completed, Ellen closed the book. "It seems the basics are finished. Now we can learn practical combat. We will begin the real training." Dale eagerly followed, "Yes, Father." A moment later, the smile quickly vanished from his face. Dale couldn't believe his eyes. Is this the corpse of a goblin, he wondered? After a moment of observation, Ellen smiled faintly and reminded him, "You look quite confused. A weak practitioner of black magic. can only make this corpse of a sword saint move at the level of a mere zombie. Conversely, someone with real skill can truly turn a common soldier into a death knight. Now here we have an ordinary corpse soldier. How do you intend to control it? The goblin lay there silently, regardless of what was happening. Dale opened his magic circle, his mind full of confusion. His face began to wrinkle. It seemed a bit difficult. Dale tried to connect the small threads. Unlike the rabbit with its small body and few bones, a goblin that walks on 2 legs has too many joints to connect with magic threads. It's so troublesome. When all the connections were complete, the goblin moved. It lunged forward under his control. Damn it, it's like controlling a puppet with tangled strings. I must have been wrong to use the phenomenon of rigor mortis to increase its defensive ability. Now the joints and muscles are stiff and can't move anymore. In a case like this, what is the right thing to do? Seeing him fall into a state of panic, Ellen had to step in. Dale, your idea of stimulating the corpse to stiffen its body wasn't a bad one. But it also caused the body to have its movements restricted more than necessary. With that, he demonstrated for him. Watch this. But Ellen only needed to lightly raise his magic, and it spread out to cover the goblin in front. Dale was stunned to witness such a magnificent scene. Ellen's magic threads were penetrating its body. He made the skeleton expand and said, "The ribs on the goblin's side are bulging, the part used to protect the internal organs. But for one who is already dead, what need is there to protect organs anymore?" As he spoke, he pushed the magic deeper, then stated decisively, "Thoroughly understand the subject's structure, and modify it into a form that suits your purpose." Dale's jaw dropped in horror at this bizarre type of magic. Ellen casually destroyed the goblin and concluded with a sentence, "That is the fundamental of black magic." Dale lowered his head as if he wanted to say something. "Father, please tell me the spirit that the Black Tower pursues." Ellen gave a mysterious but satisfied smile. He gently bent down, the magic from his hand still present. "It is truth." Ellen knelt down and placed a hand on Dale's shoulder. "And truth is always hidden in death." The more he spoke, the more his eyes narrowed with determination. "Therefore, we must understand it even more, to be able to touch that truth. One must understand the weight of a life." Suddenly, memories of his past life flooded back. Just as the battle was about to end, an innocent-looking civilian was begging him. "Please spare me. I'm begging you, Sir Hero." He coldly raised his sword. "Please spare my life." And then, without mercy, he sent them to their graves. Ellen's voice rang out, seeing his son's unstable expression. He was a little worried. "Are you all right? You look terrible." Despite the inquiry, Dale stood there lost in thought, because the memory made him shudder. So after a moment, Dale spoke to reassure him. "Yes, I'm fine, Father. I'm all right." And so time flew by. As Dale's magical training gradually improved day by day, the news that the Duke of Saxon had passed on black magic to Dale spread throughout the entire empire. The Duke of Saxon's violation of the oath from many years ago created a powerful shockwave, because the boy himself was the reason the Duke broke that oath. Both the aristocracy and the common people of the empire turned their attention towards him. One day, like any other, Dale was diligently practicing his swordsmanship. A few weeks later, at the Duke's training grounds, Dale braced himself and sparred enthusiastically with Helmuth. The sword strikes he delivered were all very precise. This pleased Helmuth. Both sides tried to deliver exquisite blows. Sword strikes followed one after another. After a while, the most intense blow of the fight appeared. Dale tensed his muscles on one side. Helmuth also raised his sword, refusing to surrender. The man swung. Fortunately, Dale managed to dodge in time. Seizing the opportunity, he advanced and knocked the sword from Helmuth's hand. The man turned his head to watch it. His face couldn't hide his surprise. The sword was knocked away with such force that it stuck firmly in the ground as it landed. Helmuth was not a sore loser. He quickly surrendered. "Well done, young master." Of course Dale didn't believe it. "How could a swordsman like you let your sword drop?" Wiping his sweat, he guessed, "You let it go on purpose, right?" Then Helmuth picked up his sword and denied it. "Of course not. Because the young master has applied swordsmanship in real combat." "Truly, an ordinary person would probably have died from the very first slash. The young master's swordsmanship is too excellent. It's a shame the young master is a mage, because mages always have guardian knights by their side. In reality, the young master doesn't need to train this hard. Is there a reason why the young master does this? There's no need to push yourself to the point of getting injured like this." Dale looked at his bandaged arm. Decisively, of course there is. If the Duke's son only knows how to rely on his guards or protectors. That's not majestic at all, is it? That's not the main point. Actually, he was thinking further. Who could bear to miss a chance to learn swordsmanship directly from one of the 7 great sword masters of the continent? Hearing those confident words, Helmut laughed in amusement. He ruffled the boy's hair, bursting into laughter and praising a fine answer. If I had a son like the young master, I'd have no regrets. Dale was overjoyed to hear that, so he finally earned his praise. Just then, the soft rustle of a dress announced someone's approach. It was Elena. She called out, "You two seem to be having fun." Dale chirped happily. "Mom, what brings you here?" Elena smiled gently and said, "I wanted to see how hard my son is working." After a moment, she got to the main point. "Also, I have some news for you." He asked curiously, "What is it?" Elena hinted, asking in return, "Do you remember the birthday present you once asked for?" Dale rubbed his chin, thinking of the big gift box she had brought. "My birthday present? I only vaguely remember. What was it?" Suddenly, he recalled his previous request. "I want a little sister." Thanks to that memory, he understood what Elena meant. Seeing this, she rubbed her belly expectantly. "So you'll have to take good care of your little sibling, okay?" Dale clasped his hands, his eyes shining with excitement. Of course. Time flew by, and just like that, it was 10 months later. Dale kept poking the baby girl's cheek, delighting Elena. "Are you that captivated by her?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "Yes, I am." "I can't believe this is my little sister." Dale stared at the baby, unable to look away. "She's unbearably cute." Seeing this, Elena offered, "Do you want to try holding her?" Dale, though he wanted to, was a bit hesitant. Me." She slowly placed the baby in Dale's arms. "Come on, don't be shy. Holding a baby isn't hard. Actually, I've realized it's not as hard as I thought." "So doesn't she look just like you?" Seeing the baby smile brightly, Elena was a bit excited. "That's strange. She cries every time I hold her. But she's not crying at all with you. She seems very happy." Dale smiled gently, looking at the tiny living being in his arms. Suddenly, Ellen approached and asked, "How do you feel now?" Dale answered honestly, "She's light as a feather, but also very heavy." Ellen smiled gently. A serene feeling filled the room. "That is the weight of a life." He placed a hand on Dale's shoulder, reminding him, "Never forget that." "Dale, it's probably time for your lesson. Let's go, Dale. Master Xenia must be waiting for you." Xenia smiled and gave a brief introduction for him. "Today's lesson will be combat training." Dale was timid and a little hesitant. "Am I really going to fight for real?" "Come on," Xenia encouraged him. "Don't hesitate. Attack me with all your might." He began to summon a magic circle. "Master." Xenia also created a small magic orb ready to fight. "Let's see how much you've improved." The opening move was sharp shards of ice hurtling toward her. Xenia casually swatted them away with one hand. "They're all gone. Your first attack was too slow." She taunted him as she knocked away the ice shards. "How dare you go easy on your master?" Seeing this, Dale took a few steps back, cold sweat trickling down his cheek. Xenia threw a piece of ice at him. She ordered, "Put up a barrier now." Dale's face twisted in fear at her terrifying killing intent. The attack flew. In a flash, it unleashed immense power. Dale looked down at his knee and hand, which were frozen over. He was terrified. "If I hadn't blocked that in time, I would have been seriously injured." Xenia was thrilled when she saw this. "You created ice armor in just a split second." Dale quickly retracted his magic and the ice armor fell away. She nodded and demanded, "Well done, Dale. Keep attacking." He placed his hands on the ground. He recited the name of the spell Elemental Combination Ice Fortress Formula. As he spoke the incantation, the spell manifested. Dale raised an ice fortress. The fortress, tall and solid, rose right before Xenia's eyes. She murmured in confusion. "Casting ice fortress in the middle of a battle. By reinforcing the magical structure, he's increased the ice's density to an incredible level." Xenia touched it lightly, curious. "But why use a defensive spell now? Does he need a break after my last attack?" As she was lost in thought, a sound from the other side of the wall caught her attention. Ice storm. A great light flared as the spell detonated on top of the ice wall. Xenia was dazed for a moment, trying to process it. She froze. A bead of sweat trickled down her confused cheek. "Ice! A magic grenade!" From it, an explosion erupted, engulfing Xenia's body. After the explosion subsided, the ice wall lowered. It was a success. Dale had made the ice wall even denser, then made it explode. The ice particles, already reinforced before being compressed, had then turned into a real ice bomb. Dale thought excitedly, "That's hard to dodge." "Master." But then the scene before him made him cry out in fear. "Master!" Her whole body was cracked, almost frozen solid. Shards of ice had pierced her in several places. "Master Xenia!" But then she suddenly appeared from behind him. "Were you calling me?" Dale sighed in relief. "You scared me." So that was just an illusion. Xenia snapped her fingers, melting the ice on the mannequin. "A frightening skill," she commented. "Dale, I didn't expect that a mere level 1 mage could injure an elder of the magic tower." He bowed his head, sad and remorseful. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Master." Xenia chuckled reassuringly. "I know. Actually, I'm glad you hurt me. You believed I was strong enough for you to go all out. Right, I am your master. That makes me prouder than any other compliment." Hearing that, he felt a bit relieved. "Really? Of course, she affirmed. You are an outstanding student. But how did you come up with that magic formula? Dale smiled humbly. It was all thanks to your teachings, Master. She gave a friendly smile, looking at him affectionately. A while later, in Ellen's private room, Lady Xenia, what happened to the wound on your cheek? She lightly touched the cut. She laughed. Oh, this. I was just a bit careless while teaching the young master. His formula is exceptionally sharp. But Ellen sighed wearily. I am in your debt once again, Lady Xenia. She shook her head, declining. It's nothing. Teaching such a talented student is a joy for me as well, Ellen said seriously. May I ask you for one more favor? Xenia was always ready. Yes, please speak. Ellen recalled the report. We've received news that a horde of orcs has crossed the mountain range into our territory. A small cavalry unit can't handle them. The mood around Xenia darkened upon hearing the news. However, Ellen continued, I intend to have Dale participate in this battle. Xenia immediately stood up for the young master. Dale is not ready, Ellen quickly argued. On the front lines, one is never truly ready. Besides, protecting the territory is the duty of House Saxon. As the ducal heir, the boy must understand that responsibility. Dale cannot be an exception. But Xenia could do nothing more. She had to comply. What do you need me to do? Before answering, Ellen stated one thing first. I will entrust Dale with my artifact. I want you to guide the boy until he can control its power. Rings appeared, representing the arcane. An artifact is an item imbued with great power and will. It can only be used by channeling mana or life force into it. The more powerful the artifact, the more dangerous and difficult it is to control. In some cases, it can even be fatal. Before the artifact vault of House Saxon, Ellen explained to Dale, House Saxon has mastered this kind of power for a very long time. Dale as the ducal heir. You too must prepare for the coming battle. Hearing this, his eyes widened in surprise. What? A battle? That's awesome. Yes. Ellen nodded, clarifying the mission. You will go with the punitive force to eliminate the orcs. But before that, you must learn to control the dark power of our family. As soon as he stepped inside, Dale's face filled with astonishment. Ellen gave an overview. Look here. These are the Demon King's artifacts that our family manages. They have been here since our ancestors' time, when we conquered the Demon King's domain. Don't compare them to ordinary artifacts. He looked around, unable to hide the excitement in his heart. I can feel the powerful mana flowing from them. Ellen nodded in satisfaction. That's right. Everything here is extremely powerful and dangerous. Until you learn how to control them, don't touch anything carelessly. But when he turned back, it seemed the boy had already wandered off. Where did he go? A moment earlier, Dale had been walking around with one thought. I need an artifact that suits me. Suddenly, a voice emanated from a nearby shield. Hey, kid. You harbor a grudge that yearns for vengeance, don't you? I can sense that hatred. Other artifacts vied for his attention. Come here, choose me, you coward. Choose me. Let's explore new depths together. Dale touched his chest. He guessed these dark artifacts were resonating with the lingering hatred in his heart. But it's not enough. I need something stronger. Suddenly, he noticed an artifact had been following him. When did this cloak get here? With the vast experience from his previous life, he recognized it instantly. Wait, this is the Shadow Cloak. During the Age of Heroes, Duke Bada of the Demon King's Legion used this ultimate artifact. Its ability makes shadows tangible, turning him into a fearsome opponent. Without another thought, Dale put it on. Let's try this. The moment they saw this, the other two panicked. Dale, he was quickly enveloped by darkness. In a hazy space, a strange voice echoed. Hungry, I'm so hungry. Dale remained calm. Shadowy tendrils rose from his feet. So it's starting. This isn't an ordinary shadow. Its previous owner could summon storms of darkness and control shadows as living things. To truly master it, the owner must make the shadow entity submit completely. The shadow entity rose high from the darkness and lunged at Dale. Looks like this won't be easy. His eyes widened in intense concentration. Cold sweat ran down his cheeks. Outside, all that could be seen was a pitch-black sphere. Xenia asked worriedly, It's been a while. Should we be concerned? Ellen rubbed his aching head. If this continues, he could lose his mind and be devoured by the shadow entity. Hearing that, she panicked. What then we have to... He raised his hand, preparing to do something. Forcefully pull him out. Before they could act, a light flashed from within the sphere, blinding them. The sphere of darkness gradually dissipated. Dale reappeared standing tall and proud. Yes, father, Dale. Xenia rushed over. Dale, are you okay? He replied quickly as if nothing had happened. I'm fine. Hearing that, she sighed in relief. You had me so worried. Dale scratched his head sheepishly. It just bit me a little. Meanwhile, Ellen was a bit curious. How is he completely unscathed? How can a child withstand such a powerful artifact? Dale turned a little nervously and called out, Father. I have a question. Instinctively, Ellen replied, yes, go ahead. Given permission, he stated his wish with an excited face. Can I try the other ones? Both adults seemed to freeze, stunned by his innocent question. Ellen winced but reluctantly gave permission. Fine. Dale's heart leaped with joy. Thank you so much, Father. And so began Dale's days of exploring the artifact vault of House Saxon from dawn till late at night. A few days later, in the ducal estate's training area, Tiamat exclaimed in amazement, Young Master, is that cloak you're wearing the legendary shadow cloak? Dale smiled brightly and quickly admitted, Yes, it is, Tiamat asked worriedly. The legendary item famous for being hard to control. Are you really all right? Dale scratched his cheek, finding it a bit awkward. Well, I'm fine. Other than being a little ticklish, nothing's wrong. Tiamat subconsciously rubbed his head, not understanding. That's amazing. Maybe because it was lonely for so long. The shadow entity clung to me as soon as it saw me. It probably just wanted a companion. Hearing that the shadow entity at Dale's feet immediately whimpered. He stomped on it hard with an innocent look on his face. Thank you for calling me kind, Tiamat. Pinning it to the ground, he continued. I have a favor to ask you. Tiamat immediately inquired, What do you need, sir? Dale voiced the desire he was eager to fulfill. I want to train in actual combat. Tiamat immediately took a stance, a thick, killing aura emanating from him. All right, I won't disappoint you. Seeing this, Dale was a bit wary. Facing one of the 7 swords of the continent, his aura alone is this terrifying. Tiamat smirked reassuringly. Don't worry, young master. I'll only use basic swordsmanship. I won't use my aura. But that made Dale uncomfortable. Holding back a knight should always fight with all their might. His real goal wasn't a sparring match, but to train his ability to use the shadow cloak. Magic from the cloak spread out and began to cover the entire arena. The power of an artifact crafted from a shadow entity determines its true worth. Therefore, this battle is a necessary test. The spell was cast. Tiamat raised his sword, preparing to block the shadow blades. With a single slash, he cleared away all the shadow blades. Witnessing this, Dale was even more impressed. Breaking the attack with pure strength, amazing. Tiamat laughed excitedly. Well done, here I come. With his experience, Dale quickly dodged the attack, leaping back and leaving a spell in his place. From under Tiamat's feet, sharp shadow spikes erupted, but he noticed them in time. He spun his sword, preparing to shatter them all. A surprise attack, interesting. Realizing the attack was aimed at him, Dale quickly manipulated the magic into a shield. When the slash landed, his shadow shield only cracked heavily but didn't shatter. Dale braced himself against Tiamat's heavy power. Though thrown back, he managed to stay on his feet, leaving 2 long drag marks. Tiamat chuckled, feeling a bit uneasy internally. He blocked it. I used enough force to slice a normal sword in 2. Without stopping, he charged forward again. 10 more moves. That day, the knights who witnessed it all whispered amongst themselves. None of them could withstand more than 2 moves from Captain Tiamat. They felt an invisible wall between themselves and the young master. Time passed quietly, and the day of departure arrived. Elena was extremely worried for Dale. No matter how I think about it, I don't understand why your father is letting you go to such a dangerous place. Dale comforted her. Mom, don't worry. Father and Tiamat will be there. But a mother's instinct kept Elena from feeling at ease. But what if something happens? What if you get hurt? Dale took his mother's hand and said seriously, Mom, I have to become strong, so that one day I can bear the responsibility of the Duke. By then I'll need the strength to protect you. Father and my little sister, I really need this experience. Please let me get stronger so I can protect you. Her son's sincere words softened her heart. Elena finally nodded. All right, be safe. Dale sat firmly on his horse and smiled. I'll be back soon. Early that morning, as dawn broke at the temporary base, Tiamat checked and reported. My lord, the troops are ready to depart. Ellen nodded. Good. He turned away. Dale, you give the order to advance. Dale was surprised. Yes, sir. Ellen turned back to the formidable army and said, Our proud black knights will one day follow your command. They are your knights. Dale was a bit flustered, but accepted with pride. Dale's knights, not Hansung's. This will be my first battle as a commander. Ellen smiled. That's right, this time will be different. Dale stepped forward and announced clearly, the time to march has come. Advance, proud swords of House Saxon. All the soldiers roared in unison, Yes, young master! Dale commanded authoritatively, All troops to your positions. The thundering of hooves signaled a new beginning. In this campaign, 250 black knights along with an elite special forces unit stationed in Baeksan and the Eastern Guard also participated. They quickly arrived before a large waterfall. The target about 1,000 orcs. The orcs had crossed the mountain range and headed upstream of the Saxon River to avoid the cold and find food. They will soon head downstream. Ellen laid out the plan. We will launch a surprise attack by crossing the Saxon River. There was only one way for 250 soldiers to quickly cross the deep river. From a distance, Xenia gracefully approached. "Please step aside." She moved forward coolly, her intention clear. "I will create an ice bridge." Dale cheered with delight. "Master Xenia!" "You came to help in person." Although a proponent of peace, in the blink of an eye, Xenia created a solid and imposing ice bridge. When she was done, she gestured. "Everyone may cross. I wish you a victorious return." Ellen did not forget his thanks. "I am grateful for your support." Dale stepped forward and bowed to his master. "Master, I'm leaving now." Xenia watched him silently, as his small figure gradually disappeared into the distance. An indescribable feeling stirred in her heart. How strange. How can a student make their master worry this much? A while later, at the Orcs' temporary camp, the Hidden Special Forces unit fired the first volley of their ambush. The arrows carried blazing flames, soaring straight ahead. Tens of thousands of arrows were fired, turning the sky red. The arrows killed scores of enemies. Tiamat gave the order. "Now battalions 1, 2, and 3. All soldiers immediately assumed combat readiness. He signaled. "Spearhead formation charge." Tiamat, observing from a high vantage point, turned to ask, "What do you think, young Master Dale?" Dale thought to himself, each hoof strikes the ground twice per second, meaning they're moving at 40 kilometers per hour. Adding the weight of the rider and armor, the impact force will be immense. Combined with 3 to 4 meter long lances locked in place, forming a standard lance formation enhanced by aura, not even an orc could block that attack. He said aloud, truly overwhelming. Ellen replied, "Indeed. This is the pride of the ducal cavalry." Tiamat smiled and said, "You can't relax yet, young Master Dale. This is just the beginning." The orcs had formed a solid defensive stance. The battle between good and evil was raging fiercely. He announced the ambush was a success, but it wasn't enough to wipe them out. A voice replied, "We will withdraw, regroup, and attack in waves." A flare shot up. Soldiers shouted the announcement. "Retreat signal, all units fall back." The war horses immediately galloped back to their base camp. The orcs seemed bewildered, not understanding the righteous side's next move. They growled in anger at the sudden retreat. Harris also quickly received the order and turned his horse to withdraw. But the orcs wouldn't give up. They hurled their spears at him. The spears flew with terrifying force, knocking Harris from his horse. Dale, observing from above, was shocked to see this. He suddenly realized something and thought seriously. A voice rang out. "No, we must abandon a fallen knight." Dale said loudly, "You're already considering him a lost cause. A proud sword of House Saxon is lying helpless before the enemy like this." He turned and questioned, "Why are you just standing there watching?" Ellen seemed to hesitate about something. Tiamat also made no move. The orcs were closing in on Harris. Dale thought, riding down now will be too late. From this distance, I need to pierce the orc's thick hide in a single blow. Orc hide is much thicker than other monsters. I need to modify the ice flash formula. Add a high-precision sniping formula, plus a trajectory lock to ensure stability. Increase the completion level. Dale then unleashed the spell Ice Flash Magic Formula La Macnumer. A ferocious orc charged to attack Harris. Dale's spell immediately shot down from above, piercing its body. Tiamat spoke up. Such high accuracy from that far away. He asked in surprise, "Young master, are you planning to enter the battle yourself?" But Ellen quickly stopped him. "Let him go, Tiamat." Tiamat exclaimed in shock, "My Lord Duke!" He thought for a moment. To have created his own magic formula at this age, with that level of firepower? Ellen and Tiamat stood there observing Dale's every move. They thought his inner world must be nearly complete. Dale paused, thinking. He realized the orcs had regrouped. Now there are two problems. 1, Harris is frozen with panic after falling from his horse. 2, the initial magic formula was too long and not optimized for real combat. That's why you learn basic algebraic identities like A plus B. AB il A2 B2. I should shorten it too. Dale calculated in his mind, muttering, "Let's see." After calculating, he focused intently and whispered, "Ice bullet." Harris, injured and unable to resist, looked on pleadingly. A sharp shard of ice shot from the distance, piercing the orc's head so fast it couldn't react. The monster was instantly killed. Harris said in a weak voice, "Young Master Dale, why did you come all this way for someone like me?" Dale didn't answer. He just gently dismounted and approached him. He took another step, his voice gentle. "Don't worry. House Saxon never abandons a loyal sword." The other orcs had not given up. They charged at Harris, making him cry out for help again. One with a face contorted by the death of its comrade roared in fury. However, Dale, still calm, unleashed his shadow blade technique. Instantly, dark wisps of energy surrounded the orc. He smiled in satisfaction and murmured, "Absorb them." The wisps immediately drained the monster's strength. They absorbed relentlessly, causing the orc's body to gradually disintegrate. Slowly, only its head remained. Then only a dry skeleton was left on the ground. Dale laughed triumphantly. "Still more." He fired another ice bullet. finishing off the last orc. Dale wiped the blood from his clothes. It's done. Harris was astonished. Young Master Dale! My legs, I can't move them. The statement made Dale a bit embarrassed, but he still cheerfully lifted Harris. He whispered success. Then he spoke gently to Helmut. I'll leave the rest to you, Helmut. Helmut immediately acknowledged the order and turned. He shouted to the cavalry squadron, Charge! All the soldiers surged forward attacking, with resounding war cries. For House Sachsen, for the young Master Dale. A while later at the Sachsen military camp, a reporting voice rang out. Young Master Dale, the orc extermination mission was a success. Ellen's voice suddenly turned stern. I called you here because I have something to ask. Why did you charge into the enemy ranks alone? For what godforsaken reason did you do something so reckless? Dale grew anxious at the scolding, trembling as he thought. Why am I suddenly being yelled at? Ellen continued to question him, demanding an explanation. Why did you charge into the enemy ranks alone? Dale explained. Yes, Father. Thank you, Father. You once said that the Sechung Knights would one day be mine to lead. I just want to act in a way that is worthy of that honor. Alan seemed pleased to hear that, but still said your reasoning is weak. Dale thought for a moment. Father is known for valuing his knights above all else. Why would he act like this? So he asked. May I ask why? You would stand by and watch a knight be destroyed, Father. Alan explained. The Northern Demon King's territory, which House Sechung rules over, is constantly under assault from waves of monsters. The knights on the front lines raise their swords, not to wait to be rescued. They must first survive on their own. Dale was still confused. But I expected you to save a loyal knight's life. Elaine asked in return like you did. You want soldiers? To think and act on the battlefield, but secretly hope someone will come and save them. How many knights with that mindset do you think can survive? The knights in our domain must constantly sharpen their blades to face the dangers that always lurk around them. Only when they truly reach their limit will I personally intervene. That is the noble duty our family must bear. Dale suddenly realized. It's true, this is a fact I can't deny. In my past life I understood this well, but I've forgotten it now. Elaine placed a hand on his shoulder and said, But the way you acted according to your own will is also commendable. Don't lose that spirit. Dale bowed his head. I understand, Father. The light from outside shone in creating a halo around him. Elaine pulled back the curtain. Let's return to the castle. The story of the young heir of the ducal house, who single-handedly charged into a horde of orcs to save a single knight, quickly became the favorite topic of gossip throughout the empire. Rumor had it that the young master slaughtered 1,000 orcs with one hand. Although only a fraction of it was true and the rest was exaggerated, the story still spread like wildfire. Even as the subject himself blushed with embarrassment, this incident breathed a new life into the duchy. A few days later at the training grounds, everyone cheered excitedly when they saw him. Young Master Dale has arrived. It's an honor to see you, sir. We welcome young Master Dale. Dale blushed shyly. I told you not to make such a big deal out of it. Helmut, seeing this, was also pleased and teased. Puff out your chest, young master. For the future of our young Master Dale, we must become stronger. Understood. Everyone roared in unison. Yes, sir! Dale found it strange and thought to himself, why is everyone so fired up today? Suddenly, Ebel's voice came from behind. Young Master Dale, the guest from the Och family has arrived. Dale smiled and replied, Ah, thank you. Ebel and Helmut asked in unison, Shall we go, young master? Dale thought to himself, I'm about to meet a special guest. The Och martial clan home of the Holy Sword Badeo, once a great noble family of the kingdom of Tayloria, which was destroyed when the empire declared war. Everything was burned to ashes. The kingdom, the Holy Sword, and the Och family. Dale glanced at Helmut and noticed his expression was a little different. He must be thinking of the Holy Sword of old, the one who knighted him. He thought to himself, the atmosphere is really heavy. Elaine spoke up. You've arrived just in time. Just finished training, have you? Dale replied. Yes, sir. The butler entered and announced, Young Master Dale, your guests have arrived. A voice rang out, What a grand reception! Scarlet and her mother entered. Dale thought to himself. They came all this way without bringing any servants. The woman bowed her head and introduced herself. I am Vanessa O.H., my respects to Duke Sesjung. Elaine replied, Welcome. Vanessa turned to her daughter. This is my daughter, Scarlet O.H. However, Scarlet seemed displeased, pouting as she called out Mother. Her attitude made Dale wonder what's going on. The girl reacted sharply. Why do we have to bow our heads to them? Vanessa quickly chided Scarlet, but maintained her composure. She said to Elaine and Elena, It was a long journey. Dale, could you please escort Lady Scarlet on a tour around the castle? Dale obeyed. Yes, ma'am. He gently invited Lady Scarlet, please come with me. But Scarlet maintained her arrogant attitude, gritting her teeth. Don't touch me. She swung her hand away so forcefully that Dale froze for 5 seconds. Alan was also bewildered by the girl's attitude. Scarlet kept her haughty expression. Suddenly, she blurted out, "Imperial nobles are so shameless." Vanessa quickly snapped, "Scarlet, what are you doing?" "Apologize to the young master at once," scolded by her mother. Scarlet turned away in annoyance. Dale still called out gently, "Wait, Lady Scarlet." Vanessa said in a serious tone, "Please forgive my daughter's rudeness. She's not normally like this. It's just that some things have happened recently, and she's not emotionally stable." Elena, hearing this, asked sympathetically, "What happened?" Vanessa recounted not long ago. Count Brandon Book became the new lord, governing our lands. He is called the Holy Knight of the Empire, but his infamy is greater than his fame. There's a reason they call him the Pig King. There are even rumors that to obtain a talented heir, he has been sowing his seed everywhere, including with my daughter who isn't even of age. Luckily, she barely escaped, but the horrifying memory cannot be erased. Vanessa pleaded earnestly, "I just want to protect my child, but I am just a fallen noble. I have little power left. Please, I beg you, take Scarlet in as a maid for House Sesung, so that bastard can never touch her again." A while later, Dale caught up to Scarlet, calling out, "Lady Scarlet, do you even know where you're going?" Scarlet replied coldly, "I don't care." Dale thought to himself, why did she end up at the training grounds of all places? Unexpectedly, Scarlet turned around and asked softly, "Is your hand okay?" Dale replied cheerfully, "It's fine, don't worry." The girl suddenly grabbed the hilt of his sword and said, "Good." Then she unexpectedly drew the sword from its sheath. Her face was serious. "In that case, duel with me." But the sudden action bewildered Dale, who exclaimed, "What?" he thought to himself. "Why is this suddenly happening?" Scarlet remained cold, pointing the sword at Dale. She said, "Duel me." Dale calmly replied, "You need a reason first." She answered, "I've heard the rumors. A prodigy so great he single-handedly destroyed 1,000 orcs to rescue a fallen knight." Hearing the story, he was too embarrassed to say anything. Scarlet declared, "I will defeat you, the one they call peerless in the Empire, and prove to the world that I am stronger than you. Then I will prove that I can protect my family from that man." Dale asked curiously, "That man?" She answered, "Count Brandon Buck, the Holy Knight." Hearing that, he gritted his teeth and thought to himself, "I can never forget him. The Imperial dog who stabbed me in the back. I never expected to hear his name here. We share a common goal. She could be a good ally. But first the girl needs a dose of reality." He coldly turned his back and walked away to Scarlet's confusion. Then he turned back contemptuously. "You're just an ignorant little girl." After saying that, Dale drew his sword and said, "Come at me with everything you've got." Hearing this, she became furious. "That was my plan all along." With that, Scarlet immediately launched a powerful attack. However, it was still a light attack for Dale. He stood his ground, defending firmly. Seeing this, she withdrew her sword and launched another attack. Scarlet's face was incredibly determined, her eyes sharp. Dale seemed quite surprised by her strength. Scarlet suddenly realized, thinking to herself, a counterattack. He blocked with his wrist and shows signs of using. Too much aura is being channeled into the sword, just like how mages create mana through circles in their hearts. Knights accumulate aura to push their bodies beyond human limits. Dale thought for a moment, a true knight indeed. She flashed a sinister smile, pulling her hand back to prepare a finishing blow. The attack was launched in a flash, but Dale still dodged it as usual. The battle between them was incredibly tense. With determination in her eyes, she thought, "At this rate, I'll gain the upper hand." When I was born, my father was no longer in this world, but every night Mother would tell me stories about him. Mother said, "You must protect the family in your father's place, as the proud daughter of the Holy Sword." Even when the kingdom had fallen and the family was in ruins, Scarlet's sword has never stopped. Scarlet was tense sweat rolling down her face. She suddenly thought, "So why?" She was furious. She thought to herself, "I can't even touch him." Scarlet's attacks continued relentlessly, but she still felt that something was wrong. Scarlet once again charged forward with all her might. She lunged with her sword straight at Dale, but still couldn't get past his defense. Scarlet wondered in her mind, Dale gently swung his sword, making a light counterattack, which sent her sword flying from her hand. Scarlet was bewildered. "But I'm the daughter of the Holy Sword," she thought. The sword stuck straight into the ground. She spoke with disappointment. "Why can't I win?" Dale calmly replied. "Because you are not the Holy Sword. There's nothing wrong with being proud of being his daughter, but as you are now, you can't protect your family from that man. The Holy Knight's sword is 10 times stronger than mine." Hearing this, Scarlet regained her composure and asked, "So what should I do?" "What do I do?" Dale said gently. "I, Dale of House Sesung, swear on the name of my family to protect House O, until the day you are strong enough to defeat him with your own hands. I and House Sesung will be your shield." Scarlet was confused. She asked, "Why would you—" Dale explained gently, "Because your sword is worthy, and so it will become the sword of myself and House Seseong. She quickly wiped away her tears and said in a serious tone, "How could I possibly refuse? I Scarlet Oath swear on my honor as a knight." Although it looked like a childish promise, the determination was enough to be considered an oath. That evening in the Duke's office, at the request of Lady Oak, Scarlet will become a maid of House Seseong. Elaine spoke in surprise. I can't believe the girl accepted without any hesitation. Did something happen between you two? Dale answered honestly. We made a promise, father. I swore to protect the Och family, in the name of House Seseong. His father then asked, You didn't use the family name just out of pity, did you? He replied firmly, No, father. Elaine continued, So what do you hope to gain from this? Dale expressed, The only bloodline of the Holy Sword. Her talent is extraordinary. We swore an oath to each other. What I want is for the new Holy Sword to raise her blade, for our family. Elaine seemed pleased with his son's thinking. He said, Good. Dale thought to himself, the last blood of the Holy Sword is now under our roof. That's enough to land a solid blow on that Brandon Buock. Just then, in the old capital of Tayloria, crash. A shout echoed to the heavens. A wineglass was slammed down onto the floor, shattering to pieces. Brandon Buck was furious. Those arrogant fools dared to act first. The soldier replied, I apologize, sir. He slammed his hand on the table, yelling, You idiot! You couldn't even catch one little girl. The soldier said, We sent assassins, but they were killed before they could reach House Seseong. We suspect it was Scarlet Oak who took them down. Brandon Buock closed his eyes tightly, his face ferocious. He walked outside. Useless fools, he thought. Brandon Buock placed a hand gently on the table. He briefly recalled the image of himself stabbing Dale in the back. He caressed his sword and said, Agreed. My lovely bride, the sword Durandal. Just wait a little longer. I will create your perfect heir no matter the cost. He gave an order. Contact the Thieves Guild. Send someone to the duchy. He smiled cunningly. Spare no expense. Bring me that girl Scarlet. While getting used to the ducal castle, Scarlet diligently underwent rigorous training to become a maid. At the same time, she sparred daily with Dale. In the scorching sun of the training grounds, Hemet said loudly, Ready! Dale held his sword, smiling confidently. Of course. On the other side, she maintained a determined expression, staring at him intently. Hemet smiled gently, his eyes closed calmly. Then begin. Scarlet's immediately crossed swords with Dale. His swordsmanship was incredibly skilled. Scarlet's expression remained fierce as she looked at him. He continuously slashed at her. Despite the tense situation, Scarlet managed to block the blows. Hemet watched the match between the two intently. He thought to himself, Is this really a children's sparring match? And they haven't even officially become knights yet. The match was intense. The killing intent and speed were chilling. Suddenly Dale's gaze faltered for a moment. He pulled down his scarf. Before Scarlet's eyes was his real face. Her pupils immediately sharpened. She prepared to deliver a decisive blow. As Scarlet's and Dale's swords were about to clash, Hemut stopped them in time. Good. He calmly praised, You fought well, Lady Scarlet. Her face scrunched up. Don't flatter me. Where did I go wrong, Sir Hemut? He asked slowly. My lady, do you know the most fundamental core of wielding a rapier? What is it? She answered immediately, thrusting right. Hemut shook his head. No. The core is your legs, your footwork. Young Master Dale dodged your thrust and closed the distance. At that moment, you should have retreated to find an opening with your rapier. If you let an opponent bend your arm, then all its advantages are nullified. The blade becomes unstable and the accuracy is lost. Honestly, you need to tear down and rebuild your entire basic foundation from scratch. Scarlet was shocked. What? Hemut continued. I've noticed for a long time. Your stance and footwork are too sloppy. She grimaced. That's because I've never had a proper teacher. Hemut smiled slowly. Well, you have me now. We'll fix that weird thrusting posture of yours, too. Her face flushed red. Weird. He laughed loudly, patting her head teasingly. Just a little. You're too cute, my lady. Dale stood to the side, watching and thinking. I wonder how fast she'll improve. Under his tutelage. Hemut, the strongest greatsword master of the 6 dukes. I have to try harder, too. I can't let Scarlet catch up to me. The process of creating a mana circle is quite similar. You have to feel the mana flowing in your heart. Wait for a stable mana circuit to form, then etch the mana circuit into a complete magic circle. The problem is that this process can take up to 10 years. Sevia asked in disbelief, You've already completed the 2nd circle. Dale nodded. Yes, ma'am. In this world, the speed of mana rotation is measured in rotations per minute. A 1st circle mage usually has 300 rotations per minute. That is 300 RPM. My current stats are 1st circle at 2000 RPM, 2nd circle at 400 RPM. To open a new circle, you need at least 300 RPM. That means I'm already qualified to open the 3rd circle. Now that I have 2 circles, let's test it out. He enhanced the basic ice bullet, increasing the connection between molecules to increase size and hardness. At the same time, he simulated a large caliber barrel to amplify the rotation count and firing speed. A targeting magic circle appeared on Dale's fingertip, armor-piercing round. The power erupted violently. The energy exploded brightly, swirling powerfully at the center. It blew a freaking huge hole in the wall in front of him. Has firing an armor-piercing round always been this easy? Sevia clapped her hands in praise. You learned so quickly. Dale bowed respectfully. It's all thanks to you, Master. From saving the knight from the orcs, to Scarlet's development, a child who knows how to use power correctly. Dale was lost in thought about her. Her talent is terrifying, but it inspires more trust than fear. Sevia hugged him, patting him gently. You are truly a disciple to be proud of. Both of Dale's cheeks turned beet red. He thought nervously, this is a little too close, isn't it? On in the courtyard of the ducal manor. Dale grimaced, recalling Master really startled me earlier. She probably still sees me as a child. Can't focus anymore. This isn't the time. His expression became serious again. Time to train. In the middle of the courtyard, a giant ice wall suddenly appeared. A powerful light shot out from Dale's palm. The blocks of ice turned into a continuous stream of bullets. Ice shot. 1, 2. They turned into perfectly round ice orbs. The crystals exploded, releasing terrifying energy. Dale stood firm behind his ice shield and smiled. Next time I'll try a slag bullet. Suddenly a voice from a distance cut through the air. It was Scarlet, her face covered in sweat. You're training here too. Dale nodded. Yeah, you too, Lady Scarlet. She replied softly. Just practicing the footwork Sir Hemet taught me. Dale asked again. You really like swordsmanship, don't you? Scarlet was a bit flustered. Huh. Yeah. For a few seconds they were silent. Then she spoke first. Hey, I'm sorry for acting so rashly before. I was too rude to you, young Master Dale. He nodded. Yeah, you were pretty rude. But I'll let it slide this time, just this once. She immediately brightened up. Really? He nodded. Yeah, so don't be so stiff. She smiled gently. Okay. They both leaned against a tree in the cold air. The weather here is really nice. She then said, even if you swing your sword until dusk, your body cools down instantly. Dale looked at Scarlet's relaxed face and smiled faintly. Is that so? I never thought someone else would think the same thing. It's kind of nice. The sight of Scarlet and Dale, chatting happily together. Elena smiled and said, time flies, doesn't it? Our son has grown so much. He continued, the two of them look good together. Elena nodded. We'll have to keep an eye on them. It seems what I needed has already fallen into place. A mother's duty is to guide her son to be true to his feelings. Not long after that, on the outskirts of the ducal territory, the townspeople bowed politely. Thank you as always, my lady. Elena smiled gently. It's nothing. Please continue to take care of your health. The slums where beggars and the homeless filled the streets. Mother often came personally to hand-deliver aid to them. Every week she brought food necessities and job assistance. Dale watched her and thought, starting this year, Scarlet and I have also been accompanying Mother. Scarlet on the other side hurried over. What's wrong, little one? The boy dressed in commoner's clothes pulled her hand. Help me, please. The boy's voice was desperate as he looked at Scarlet. My mom's in critical condition. He cried and sobbed loudly. Please help me! Dale followed Scarlet and the boy, thinking extremely suspicious. Leaving the night escorts behind. Running into a complex network of alleys. Not asking an adult, but specifically targeting Scarlet. It's suspicious enough. A figure on a rooftop was watching Dale, running below. He had already seen the person. That guy is from the Thieves' Guild. Probably sent by the Holy Knight. I knew it, their target is Scarlet. But this is a bit too obvious, isn't it? The boy stopped and said, wait here a second, I'll go get my mom. Scarlet hesitated. Oh, okay. Suddenly a man slowly stepped out smirking. Well. What are noble children doing in a dangerous neighborhood like this? We only have business with the little lady over there. I advised the young master to just go home quietly. Otherwise you might get hurt playing here. Dale laughed loudly. Dale! Sesung! I have sworn to protect the daughter of House O from thugs like you. The ruffian chuckled mockingly. Oh my! How chivalrous. But looking at the situation, you'd be better off if you knew your place, kid. Looks like you need a good beating from life to gain some experience. Scarlet turned back fearfully and whispered, Dale, I don't have my sword. He smiled reassuringly. It's okay, don't be afraid. This is the perfect opportunity to try out my new shadow spell, under the guise of legitimate self-defense. The ruffian's men rushed in from all sides. Dale quickly controlled his power, pulling them all into a vortex. The ruffian shouted angrily, Dodge it, you idiots! Dale smirked to himself. He noticed quickly. Must be high level, huh? The vortex, carrying a powerful dark purple light, erupted from him. The entire group was swept up, unable to escape. It was all part of Dale's plan. The new shadow spell he had discovered. After setting 2 circles, it turns shadows into a parasitic form. They move on their own and turn the target into a zombie. A hint of fear appeared on the ruffian's face as he witnessed his men being taken down easily by the vortex. What is it doing? Suddenly, a giant man rubbing his stomach appeared from behind. Dale growled, "So hungry. So hungry." The men caught in the vortex were terrified. "It's a zombie." The ruffian yelled, "What are you waiting for? Kill it now!" He gritted his teeth in anger. Even if he's the son of Duke Sejong, he'll still die from one of my blows. His feet pushed off as he jumped. He moved so fast his figure was a blur. A green light shot out from his palm. Who can block my hidden technique, my cursed seal in an alley like this? But Dale's dark magic shield blocked the dart. Damn it! He was surprised, gritting his teeth as he jumped down from above with his sword. The shield suddenly opened a small gap. Water orbs continuously fired out like a hail of bullets, flying at terrifying speed, piercing through his body, sending blood flying everywhere. Scarlet was hiding behind a wall, watching Dale with worry. The giant man was frantically eating the ruffian's men. Dale watched him, still trying to stand. He didn't die from just one shot. Aura users are tough. Blood flowed from the ruffian's mouth, his eyes still sharp. Not yet. As soon as he finished speaking, Dale's dark power sliced his body to pieces. The giant was still frenzied, digging its sharp claws into human flesh. Blood rained down. "Hungry! So hungry!" Dale coldly retracted his dark power, turning to Scarlet, who was cowering in a corner. "Scared, are you okay?" She stammered, The remaining man ran over, having just witnessed his comrades being wiped out. As he took a step, a blue light pierced his ankle, freezing it solid in place. He screamed in pain, collapsing and writhing on the ground. "Ah! Help me, I'll tell you everything I know." Dale was stern. "What you know?" He stammered, "Yes, I'll tell you everything, so—" Suddenly, just as he finished speaking, water orb pierced through his forehead. Dale was exasperated. Looking at the corpse, he sighed. Damn, the trail's gone cold. The last remaining man of the thieves was also easily eliminated by Dale. Scarlet looked around terrified and said, "This you don't need to say anymore. This is the true face of House Sejong that people fear. It's also the power that protects me." Dale approached and asked softly, "How does it look up close? Are you afraid?" Scarlet nodded. "A little." But then she immediately smiled. "A little. But it's okay. You're fighting to protect me, right? I've already knelt before you. I made up my mind on the day of that oath. Your family became my shield. So one day I will raise my sword for you. Thank you for teaching me what the future truly is. I will become even stronger." Dale was surprised by her words. His gaze changed. Part of the reason he took Scarlet in was because of his regret towards Badeo from his past life. He slowly extended his hand, gently placing it in front of her. Dale smiled and thought to himself, so the fact that Scarlet chose to become my sword. She smiled happily, her cheeks blushing. She took his hand. For Scarlet, that action held a deeper meaning than Dale could realize. At the same time, at Count Brandon Buok's residence, the old man was in a rage. Brandon Buok's expression was incredibly foul. "Damn it, I know inviting the newly appointed count here is difficult, but I must invite him to the ducal territory." The old man roared in anger. "This is a summons from the Black Duke to hold me accountable. Even the great holy swordsman cannot defy the order." A few days later, at Duke Sesung's castle, Elaine sat on the main throne. He spoke slowly. "I'm glad the count could make the journey." Brandon Buok was terrified, staring intently at him without looking away. Elaine continued, "I didn't expect you to arrive so soon. Forgive this humble reception." A flustered Brandon Buok placed a hand on his chest. "Nothing is more urgent than a summons from you, Your Grace." His gaze flickered to Dale and Scarlet standing behind them. After the disturbance in the duchy, an air of concern is spreading throughout the empire. A kidnapping in broad daylight, no less. I believe I know why you've summoned me here. But as the Emperor's loyal sword, how could I possibly be involved in such a shameful affair? Suddenly, dark power glowing with a purple-black light flew straight towards Brandon Buok. The old man tried to resist with his holy sword, but a black wind engulfed his 2 subordinates. Their bodies began to wither, incinerated piece by piece. Brandon Buok shouted in panic, "Your Grace Duke, please spare their lives." The old man backed away. Even the holy knights of the Marquis de Long couldn't withstand it. His face turned pale. He screamed, "This magic! It's Void Storm! A high-level dark magic spell!" Alan commanded coldly, "Kneel." The holy swordsman roared, "Duke, do you understand the gravity of your current actions?" But Alan remained calm. "I advise you to listen carefully, Count. There will be no second warning." Brandon Buok gritted his teeth, but his knees finally buckled. He thought in terror, "Damn it! Even if the Black Duke has a point, I never thought he'd go this far." Alan declared, "You know, I summoned you here for the peace of the Empire. But if you dare to touch a child of House Seshung again, I will wipe out every last remnant of House Brandenbach. Carve this into your heart. You must be tired from your long journey. Count, please rest and warm yourself. The old man lowered his head and spoke softly. I am deeply grateful for your grace's generosity. But unfortunately, the situation does not permit me to stay in your domain any longer. Alain nodded. I see. In that case, I pray you have a safe journey home. Dale, standing behind, smiled sinisterly. What father just did to Brandon Buke, one of the Emperor's most loyal retainers, will become the spark that turns the Empire into a torch. It's just a small ember for now, but soon enough, the fire will blaze, and their duty will be to take the Holy Swordsman's head. When the whole world hears the news that the Holy Swordsman was forced to kneel before the Black Duke, the pillars of the Empire will tremble. In his private office, Alain boldly removed the cloth cover, revealing what was underneath. Sevilla asked hesitantly, "This is," Alain explained, "the corpses of the Thieves' Guild members who attacked Dale." Sevilla's face turned pale. Dale did all this. The bodies lay scattered, riddled with holes, organs spilled everywhere. For the first time in her life, Sevilla began to doubt her own teachings. Alain said slowly, "As you can see, guiding Dale's extraordinary talent down the right path requires your wisdom. Sevilla, I want to offer you the position of chief advisor." Sevilla pondered for a moment, then gathered her courage and replied, "I understand. Understanding how that child sees the world is the most important thing right now." In the magnificent main hall of the castle, time passed quietly. Dale's 10th birthday had arrived. Unlike last year, this time representatives from the Emperor's faction also attended. Suddenly, a young man with red hair approached Dale. "Welcome, Marquis Eurus." He smiled sinisterly. "A pleasure to meet you, young Master Dale." A moment earlier in the magnificent main hall of the castle. "Oh my God, look at all this food. Truly worthy of the name House Sesung. What a beautiful sight. It's hard to believe we're all the way in the northern territories." "Haha, indeed. Worrying that the ducal territory was too far from the imperial capital turned out to be needless." Dale stood to one side, listening intently to every word of the guests. He glanced over at the group of central nobles from the imperial capital, the so-called Emperor's faction. They were the largest power, with the deepest and most widespread influence in the empire, always acting in the Emperor's name. The reason they were at tonight's birthday banquet was all too clear. This was a veiled warning, a message from the Emperor, that they would not tolerate any insult to the Holy Swordsman. And the one chosen to deliver that message was currently standing right in front of him. Eurus bowed respectfully. "You must be the young Lord Dale." "I am Marquis Crimson Eurus. It's a great pleasure to meet you." Dale thought to himself, he's the Red Magic Tower Master, the Seeker of the Flame, of rage and power within the confines of order. The Mages of the Red Magic Tower were famous throughout the Empire for their belief that might makes right, and because of that, they never hesitated to become the enforcers of mad ambitions. I myself was once a subject of their various modification experiments. Eurus declared, "The genius of House Sesung. I hear you possess a magical talent that no one in the Empire can match. Rumor has it that to protect your knight, you single-handedly wiped out a whole horde of orcs at the age of 9. Dale smiled confidently and gave a slight bow. "Indeed, I am the Duke's son. I hope you have a pleasant evening." Eurus smiled sinisterly and walked away. "Having a big birthday party like this every year is really tiring. I'd rather be training with Scarlet. But now she's a lady-in-waiting for Elena. If rumors spread that the Holy Sword's daughter is sparring with me, I'm afraid it would bring trouble upon her." Suddenly, a shrill scream echoed from behind Dale. "Stay right there, you lowly maid!" Dale winced. That voice. He immediately ran towards the noise. Ebel was sobbing. "Please, sir, I'm begging you." "I am a servant of House Sesung Becho," shouted angrily. "How dare a wretched maid like you invoke the Duke's name? Everyone is busy celebrating the young lord's birthday. Instead of standing there wasting time, wouldn't it be more fun to enjoy yourself with a woman? If you resist any further, I'll slit your throat." He pinned Ebel against the bushes. "Just be a good girl and listen." Dale suddenly appeared from behind, yelling, "What do you think you're doing?" Becho spun around in shock. "Young Lord Dale!" Still holding a knife, he took a few steps back. "Young Lord Dale, what are you doing here?" He laughed awkwardly, his voice slurred with alcohol. "Have you ever enjoyed the pleasures of a woman? You look so young. You probably don't have any experience, do you? How about I personally teach you a thing or two?" He had Ebel in a chokehold. She couldn't escape. Dale's eyes were ice cold. "Don't worry. I'll get you out of here right now." In a world built on hierarchy and order, no one expected the young lord himself to strike first. A sharp ice bullet suddenly shot out, piercing through Becho's earlobe. He collapsed to the ground, immediately letting go of Ebel. Dale stood there coldly, with no intention of backing down, even though he knew confronting someone from the Emperor's faction was extremely dangerous. Becho yelled, "What do you think you're doing? Young Lord Dale, get on your knees and apologize to me right now." Dale's face was grim as he pointed to the ground. "Didn't you hear me? Kneel and apologize to Ebel immediately." As she said, "She is a servant of House Seseong. She is a member of our family." Becho gritted his teeth. "This little Seseong brat, young Lord Dale." What a shame. But today I stand here as a representative of His Majesty. To insult me to protect a lowly maid is to insult the Emperor, Dale replied calmly. Then let me ask you a question. Could it be that His Majesty takes pleasure in the assault of a noble's servants? Becho was speechless. "How dare you speak such nonsense?" Dale growled each word. "This is my final warning." Eurus, watching from a distance, couldn't hide his amused smile. He then dropped to one knee, saying enthusiastically, "What an interesting turn of events." Suddenly, Alan yelled, "Dale, what is going on here?" Dale replied, "This man intended to assault a maid of House Seseong." Becho quickly added, "Yes, Your Grace, the young lord overreacted." Dale, unyielding, said loudly, "Did I give you permission to stand? The esteemed guests from the imperial capital all bear the great responsibility of acting on His Majesty's behalf. And yet this man dared to commit a shameful act, attempting to assault a humble maid, tarnishing His Majesty's honor with his own hands. Therefore I could not stand by and watch, without punishing him." Lord Eurus suddenly laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, well said. What a clever young man. Indeed, everything you say is true. Someone entrusted with a mission on behalf of the Emperor, who then commits a vile act against a maid, is truly shameful." Becho panicked. "Lord Eurus!" A blazing red flame erupted from Eurus's palm. He was so scared his face went completely pale. He jumped up and ran screaming in terror. "Spare me!" Eurus laughed a terrifying, sinister sound. A vortex of fire from his palm flew and swallowed the fleeing Becho. He was incinerated in the sea of fire, screaming, "It hurts, it's so hot!" Eurus said slowly to Dale, "You were not wrong. Eliminating the vermin who dare to dishonor the Empire and the Emperor is my duty. I very much look forward to your future, young Lord Dale." Dale looked back seriously, his gaze as sharp as a knife. By then, the incident had subsided. The Emperor's faction departed, restoring peace to House Seseong. Then one morning after the party at Dale's castle, the young lady stood silently and respectfully by the bed. She said softly, "Is it time to wake up?" Dale was still sleepy. He replied slowly, "Thank you for waking me." She was shy. "It's nothing, sir." He then asked, "Is there something you want to say?" Ibel hesitated. Thank you, sir. It is my honor to serve you." Dale thought to himself, she was just hesitant because of that. I've lived in 2 worlds now, but this feeling is still so unfamiliar. I'll have to get used to it. His expression relaxed and he smiled cheerfully. "Thank you. Ebel is the eldest daughter of House Jackson. I understand the weight of a name, and I will use it to its fullest extent. As long as the Empire falls." Alan began seriously, "You are very clever, Dale. But your behavior recently has been strange." His expression remained nonchalant. "Why do you speak in such a way?" Dale replied slowly. "If the otherworld hero and the holy sword, Badeo, had not both died in that battle, then the next place the hero's sword would have pointed would be the Seseong ducal territory." Lane was surprised by his son's words. "Those words are too blasphemous," he asked seriously. "How can you be so sure?" Dale's demeanor changed. "It's because I heard the Empire's plot against House Seseong. In my past life, the Empire discarded its hero. They were afraid that when the chain on that golden gift broke, the hunting dog would go mad. Even though the otherworld hero defeated the Demon King, the Empire still didn't pull out the weeds, by the roots the evil within the Demon King's territory. Instead, they issued a crazy decree, like turning the Demon King's land into royal territory, and unilaterally forcing our family to make sacrifices. And they even gave that land to you, Father. As long as the darkness on that land isn't fully cleansed, our blood will continue to be shed. Furthermore, to those within the Empire and outside the northern border, House Seseong is considered a dark family. Just as they discarded the hero, they will try to eliminate threats from within, meaning those who could potentially cause them harm. Elaine asked again, "Discarded the hero?" Dale interrupted and replied, "This is just a deduction and reasoning that I've gathered from the records. I've read, logically, nothing fits better. Officially, the hero died honorably after his battle with the Holy Sword." Badeo, he was surprised. "That's right. After all, very few people know the truth about the hero's death. If your hypothesis is correct, then the Empire is just a giant that wants to suppress all smaller nations." He looked straight at his son, deep in thought. The boy's wisdom is beyond his years. "So what do you think House Seseong should do?" He answered slowly. "House Seseong cannot coexist with the Empire. Suddenly, Dale's expression darkened as he emphasized, "So we must destroy the Empire." The air in the office became suffocating. "Dale," his father growled, "do you understand what you're saying?" He replied calmly, "I don't mean we should raise an army and go to war right away." Dale thought for a moment, then said, "In 15 years. His father asked in surprise, 15 years, the boy explained, "Right now." Anti-establishment factions across the 6 territories are pushing for independence. There are even vassals like you, Duke Sejong, who fear the Empire will turn its sword on them. The economy is in recession, and looting is rampant every day. And even though the unification treaty of the 7 territories has ended, the aftermath of the war is only getting worse. By then, we need to have built up our forces to protect our house from the Empire. We will support the opposition factions in the regions, and I have laid out a plan to topple the Empire. As the sun set behind the magnificent castle, Dale concluded his explanation. "What do you think, father?" Suddenly, his father just smiled sinisterly for a moment without saying anything. Then Elaine laughed loudly. "Your talent truly has no limits. I am confident you see a vision that I cannot. You are truly my son. From this day on, you will not just be the eldest son of the ducal house, or just a 10-year-old child. I will see you as the heir. You will lead House Sesung." The boy was surprised. "Wow," Elaine said gently, "as the head of the house, I will listen to and value your words." He smiled to himself. "I've waited a long time for this day. When I have enough power to wield the authority of the family, Sejong with my own 2 hands." He smiled and continued, "Don't hesitate, Dale. What will you do for our family?" He replied, "You said you would treat me as an equal right, father. Then allow me to undertake the Mage's trial in Necropolis." The Mage's trial, a form of competition to determine a mage's rank, where they face off against the guardians of the magic tower. Defeating a higher-level guardian will raise the challenger's rank, and the strongest will receive the title of Tower Master. The one at the very peak is granted the title of Magic Tower Lord. His father asked again, "Do you really want to go to a dangerous place where you could lose your life?" "It's still too soon. You haven't even completed your 3rd circle." Dale was confident. "Almost." Elaine was worried. "Normally you have to be in your early 20s to have 3 circles. Even for you, going from 2 circles to 3 is difficult." Dale's attitude was determined. "This decision is for both me and House Sejong, sir." His father was surprised. The boy elaborated, "If I can prove myself through the tower trial, my position as heir will be further solidified. Your position will also be more secure, father, and I will gain a reputation." "That transcends idle gossip," Elaine asked gently. "Is that why you want to participate in the tower trial?" "Yes." Dale's attitude now was extremely confident and determined. His father nodded. "Very well. I will leave this matter to your judgment." Dale was excited. "Thank you, father. I will prove it to you." A few days later, in the vast city of the dead Necropolis, someone was already waiting to greet them at the city gates. The person from the Duke Sejong's carriage stepped out. "They have arrived." The servants bowed respectfully. "It is an honor to welcome the Black Duke." Dale's face next to him was grim. He thought to himself, "Did I overdo it again?" Outside the main hall, whispers and murmurs began. "Look, it's Duke Sejong, and the young Lord Dale is here too. Ha ha, I heard he's a magical genius, the likes of which the Empire has never seen. Is that really true? But he looks a little under the weather today, doesn't he? Hey, I'm serious. I heard his swordsmanship is on par with the knights in the ducal residence." Velix smirked. "How ridiculous. I, Velix, am the valedictorian of the academy, the one destined to win this tower trial." Tom chimed in, "Of course. That noble looks so weak. A gentle touch would probably knock him over." Then Eris appeared. She bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Tower Lord," Alan said gently. "It's been a while, Eris." She smiled. "It is a true honor to serve you, young Lord Dale." Eris was the chief tower administrator, handling all administrative tasks in the Duke's absence. Alan turned to his son. "During the trial, she will be the one to assist you." He nodded. "Yes, father." Dale stepped forward and said cheerfully, "I look forward to your assistance." Eris instructed. "Yes, young lord, this way, please. A total of 59 graduating students are waiting for you. All of them will be participating in the trial with you." A door suddenly opened right in front of him and Eris. Inside were countless people. These were the people he would be competing against in the tower trial. "Hello to everyone present here. I am Eris, the chief tower administrator and presiding officer. I will now explain the first trial of the Black Magic Tower. 1, check the necklace around your neck. The Life Medallion. This trial is a survival format, a battle of life points. Each medallion contains a shielding spell to protect its owner and 1 life point. When you hit an opponent by controlling the zombies scattered across this battlefield, the opponent's medallion will activate its shield and then shatter, meaning they are eliminated. The attacker who lands a valid hit will add 1 life point to their own medallion. Any contestant who reaches a total of 3 points will advance to the next floor. Finally, anyone using magical artifacts will be considered cheating and immediately disqualified from the competition. Dale thought to himself, the rules are quick and efficient, designed to weed out the weak. Suddenly his gaze sharpened. But Velix suddenly shouted, "That monster's so young and already a 3-circle mage. I told you we should take that monster out first." Tom asked nervously, "Are we even allowed to attack him?" Velix reassured him. "Don't worry, the moment we stepped in here, we became opponents." Dale smirked to himself. He's pretty confident, isn't he? Let's see if his abilities match his words. The entire group of students opened their magic circles and aimed them at Dale. The trial begins. Velix swung his palm filled with power, summoning zombies that appeared before them. They charged towards Dale, weapons in hand. A large zombie built up momentum and attacked from above, but he quickly created a dark shield to block the blow. Behind him, a zombie many times larger suddenly appeared. Since when? 6 giant zombies roared and unleashed their power. Velix saw his own zombies being frozen. Water system magic. The giant zombie leaped in with sharp claws. Don't tell me he's a dual system mage. Because Velix's zombies were frozen, Dale's zombies easily took them down in a single blow. Velix roared, "How dare you touch my army of the dead?" 6 giant zombies raised their arms to protect Dale's body. He laughed. "It's useless. I've enhanced them with ice armor." Dale continued to command his zombies in a fierce battle. Velix pointed and yelled, "Using water system magic isn't that against the rules? Only necromancy and zombie control magic are allowed. All other forms of enhancement are forbidden." Dale replied, "True, but is there any rule that forbids me from enhancing my undead with ice magic? If the trial hasn't stopped, then it seems I'm right." But Velix still wouldn't give up. "You two block those undead, focus on a direct attack on him." Zombies continuously emerged from Velix's spell formation, overwhelming with numbers. Dale's expression changed. He thought quickly, using old magic is also forbidden. He carefully observed each charging zombie. Then he suddenly braced himself and ran straight forward. This is the only way. With incredible speed, he easily broke through the encirclement. Dale's attitude at this moment was not fearful but extremely confident. He charged straight into the middle of the zombie horde. In the blink of an eye, he had dodged every blow. In his hand, he gripped his sword tightly, disarming them. Then with a fist filled with power, he broke the zombies' arms. He quickly grabbed their giant weapons. With a firm stance, he swung the sword in a fierce counterattack. Tom was horrified. "Impossible. My undead soldiers are being cut down so easily." Velix's jaw dropped. "That sword isn't normal." He reforged the bone to increase the blade's hardness. "And there's a purple light emanating from it." Dale's zombie swung its sword down at the ground. Dale dodged, leaping into the air. His face was full of confidence. Each zombie was defeated with a single blow. Velix grimaced. "He even defeated my last undead. How can a mage wield a sword so skillfully?" Dale defeated all his opponents in a matter of moments. Then he approached Velix. Velix stammered and begged, "Please, young Lord Dale, I surrender." Dale laughed excitedly. "It's not like you'll actually die, so what's there to be afraid of?" As soon as he finished speaking, he lightly tapped Velix on the head with the hilt of his sword. Velix stumbled, clutching the lump on his head and muttering, "You monster!" All the spectators above roared with applause. The results are in. Young Lord Dale passes the trial alone with 60 life points. Dale looked up, his expression proud. "Take a good look. This will be my beginning." The monster aggressively raised the magic in its hand. The second level of the tower trial is to defeat a guardian creature called a flesh golem. Normally, the contestants who survived the first level would cooperate to take it down. But the one who broke that traditional rule was Dale. "I've already eliminated everyone." The rules are also different from level 1. Now all systems of magic are allowed, but artifacts are still forbidden. For him, that was more than enough. "This is the perfect opportunity to test the limits of my third circle." The golem punched, a devastating blow into the ground, causing it to explode. It paused for a few seconds. The dust settled, revealing a triumphant smile as if to say, "I am the greatest." But a surprise was in store for it. Dale's magic covered the golem's entire sturdy arm. The golem froze, while he stood proudly amidst the rubble without a scratch. Dale cast a shadow magic spell with a smug smile. Accelerated decay. Elaine watched from outside, curious. Eris beside him remarked admiringly, "The young lord's magic is truly extraordinary. Why did he choose to cause decay instead of just destroying it?" Dale quietly watched the golem's body slowly disintegrate. He thought to himself, "In my past life, when facing this type of monster, this move was both precise and had high firepower. It's called biological warfare." He withdrew his mana, covering his nose with his hand and clicking his tongue. "It stinks." I wonder if they understood what they just witnessed. The grotesque process of biological warfare simulated through dark magic. That day, Dale passed all the way up to the 10th level trial, setting a new record. He was given a 4-day break before entering the 11th level trial. In the meantime, to compensate for the massacre in level 1, a retrial for the remaining 59 contestants was permitted to be held, excluding Dale, of course. That same night by the fountain, Dale was spacing out when the voice called from behind Dale. He turned around overjoyed and cheered, "Master Sevia!" Sevia nodded with satisfaction. "You did excellently." "I'm so proud to hear you say that." But right after that sentence, Dale paused, took a breath, and said, "Master Sevia, will you go on a date with me?" She was so surprised, she repeated, "A date." Dale proposed, "There's a festival in the street below. Let's go." Sevia, helpless, had no choice but to indulge him. "All right, then, let's go." She thought to herself, a date, well, it's not entirely wrong. But he was thinking something different. Is this what they call an ulterior motive? At the Necropolis City Festival, the streets were bustling. In a quiet corner, Sevia asked, "The trial must be exhausting, right?" Dale shook his head. "It's fine, sir. I still have a few more days before I have to continue." She smiled gently. "Is that so? That's good, then." As they were talking, they both suddenly fell silent. The atmosphere was strangely quiet. To break the tension, Dale changed the subject. "The moon is beautiful tonight, isn't it?" Sevia followed his gaze and nodded. "Yes, it is." He sighed in frustration, not knowing what else to say. But this silence was comfortable. It had always been like that with his master. Perhaps because she had trusted him from the beginning, he wanted to get closer to her more and more. A few days ago, just as he had completed his 3rd circle, Dale finally understood what it meant to face his inner world. His nose was bleeding from overexertion. He pinched his nose, determined to push past his limits. You have to overflow the mana from the 2nd circle. Only by withstanding the chaotic mana can you maintain the 3rd circle. The interwoven magic circles gradually appeared. Suddenly, a silver sword from deep within his inner self burst forth from his heart. He looked at the black sword standing in the middle of a snowy expanse. All around was a white void. Suddenly, Xenia's voice echoed, "When you deeply calm your mind, the inner world will open." Dale looked down, understanding. So this is it. This is the inner world. His world of consciousness. There was nothing here, just an absolute void. And in that empty world, Master Xenia had reached out her hand to him. Perhaps that was why. She was the one who brought light into his world. Thinking this, the words came out naturally. "Master, I like you." Xenia couldn't believe her ears. "What did you just say?" Dale clutched his pounding chest and declared clearly, "I said I like you, Master." She chuckled softly, still seeing him as a child. Xenia bent down and hugged Dale tightly. "Is that so?" Her voice was warm. "I'm very fond of you, too." Dale, he had to accept her affection in a way he hadn't hoped for. "Thank you, Master. Living 2 lives really has its perks." A few days later, on a peaceful morning at Dale's family estate. Inside the 11th level of the tower trial, he lamented sullenly. Still no progress with Master. She probably just sees it as a childish crush from an 11-year-old kid. Time to focus on the test. Eris stood and announced, "The format for the 11th level trial is a one-on-one duel. The winner advances to the 12th level. His opponent, holding a grimoire, bowed. It is an honor to face you, young Master Dale. I am the 3rd Circle Master Albert von Rosen II. Don't expect me to go easy on you just because you're a child. The 11th level trial allows the use of all types of artifacts and magic, which means the Lifestone Amulet no longer guarantees your survival. The artifact restrictions have been lifted." Dale thought to himself, "I don't have to hold back anymore. I'll crush him instantly to establish a power gap." Before the referee could even shout, "Begin," Albert launched his first attack. A critical strike that would be difficult for Dale to block. He sneered. "I'm not like the Academy rookies you've faced. Your winning streak ends here." Albert used magic to create a volley of black arrows. Shadow arrows, they flew towards Dale. Annoyance was clear on his face. Albert continued to taunt. "Let's see how you block this." With that, Albert von Rosen fired all the shadow arrows at Dale. He dodged them one by one, finally escaping the danger zone. Dale was furious at his dirty trick. Technically starting even a second before the referee is a foul. But the judges are silent. They want to see my true limits. Damn this meritocracy, this is why I hate mages. Albert began a long incantation. "My creations arise. You who have sworn eternal servitude to me, servants from a night deeper than the blood moon." Dale just wanted to dig a hole and bury him. So cringy. What is this ear-grating spell? But I have to admit, he's much stronger than the average rookie. Dale continuously dodged the attacks from the shadow minions. Albert smoothed his hair with an arrogant air. "How long do you plan to dodge? You can't beat me like that." The minions charged, and Dale could no longer stand still. His magic erupted in a flash, sending all of Albert's minions back where they came from. Albert smirked, thinking he had him. "Is that all you've got?" Instantly, the minions' bodies bloated and then exploded in succession. Dust and chaos filled the arena. Albert laughed loudly. "Today I am the victor, young Master Dale." The smile on his lips immediately vanished, replaced by panic. "Wait, where is he?" From behind, a shadow silently rose. Dale appeared, sneering. "You look panicked." The magic enveloping Albert. It was Umbra Morph. Fear was evident in Albert's eyes, but it'll take more than that to defeat me. At his feet, a multitude of phantoms moaned. "Hungry, so hungry. Can we eat? Can we eat, please?" They looked at Dale, pleading as he gave a mysterious smile. Dale said gently, "Go ahead, but don't get too full." They instantly lunged forward. Agonized screams echoed throughout the arena. They devoured nearly all the magical essence in Albert's body. He begged frantically, "Spare me!" When Dale had seen enough, he ordered them to stop. The announcer's voice rang out. "The winner of the first round, Dale von Saxon." He closed his eyes and whispered. Behind him, a line of contestants trembled. Now everyone was pale at the thought of what was next. "Who wants to advance to the second round?" But no one dared to move. "I surrender." "I still want to live." Dale just smiled lightly. "Everything's going according to plan." From the third round onward, no one in the tower could match him. He won all subsequent rounds overwhelmingly. Dale fought while honing and perfecting his 3 magic circles, as he defeated one guardian after another. Only at level 20 did a formidable opponent appear. The Headless Knight, an artifact created by one of the former Black Tower masters. The Headless Warrior spoke, "Even you, young Master Dale, cannot ascend any higher." Dale raised his hand, mana surging. "It would be boring if everything were easy." His eyes went white as if a true monster had awakened. A stream of dark mana rushed toward the knight. The atmosphere was suffocatingly tense. Then suddenly the Headless Knight knelt on one knee before Dale. Everyone in the stands was stunned. In the inner world, the knight respectfully offered his own sword, for Dale to decide his fate. Without hesitation, Dale ordered, "End yourself." And just like that, the battle ended, without any trouble. Dale gave a wry smile as he watched the knight's body dissipate. So loyal it even betrays its creator. He suddenly noticed the stands were dead silent. Everyone was frozen like statues. "Oops, I overdid it. I just wanted to prove a point." Without another thought, Dale turned and left. Although he could continue, there are some lines that shouldn't be crossed. The levels above are places even monsters fear. He walked towards the exit, the one for those who give up, or have reached the summit. The people behind him whispered, "Where is he going?" "That's the exit." "Why did he give up?" Dale only whispered to himself, "That's enough." And with that, Dale's trial officially concluded. Outside, all the students, tower masters and nobles were lined up neatly waiting. The Magic Tower Master himself was present. The entire Black Tower stood at attention as if for inspection. One by one they bowed their heads, expressing absolute loyalty to the father and son of House Saxon. Thanks to Dale's outstanding performance, the ducal flag once again flew over the entire northern territory. No one dared to doubt the power of the Black Duke and his future heir. A few days later, in the northern part of the empire on the territory of Duke Saxon, the knights were giving their all to annihilate the monsters. But in just a single charge, they had nearly completed their mission. As they attacked, they chanted, "For young Master Dale," for House Saxon. Having successfully passed the tower trial, Duke Saxon assigned Dale as the commander of the Orc Extermination Squad. Wherever his monster-slaying unit went, the monsters were annihilated. It was a mission not just any 10-year-old would be given. Yet no one doubted Dale's command ability, and so the heir of the Black Duke gradually began to unify the North. Early one morning, a few days later, at his family's estate, Dale stood formally and reported, "My Lord Duke, we have eliminated 145 orcs." Ellen got straight to the point, "Knight casualties." Based on the data, he reported 3 with minor injuries. "No fatalities." Ellen asked for clarification. "Did you use magic to protect them?" Dale replied instantly, "No." This was entirely the result of the swords of House Saxon. Afterward, Heomut, who wasn't used to giving praise, said, "Well done." Heomut immediately turned to brag to the Duke. "My Lord Duke Youngmaster, Dale has really gotten used to commanding a large cavalry force." Dale humbly waved it off. "It's all thanks to Heomut's guidance." He recalled the past months with excitement. Heomut had taught him swordsmanship, tactics, and military strategy. Heomut placed all his hopes in him. At this rate, it won't be long before the young master can lead a territorial war. Despite his excitement, Dale waited patiently. "A territorial war, huh? I'm looking forward to the next stage." A while later, Scarlet swung her sword as if in a real duel. Her opponent this time was Dale. Scarlet continuously unleashed powerful spinning slashes, but unfortunately he managed to dodge them in time. Not stopping there, Dale weaved around, surprising her before she could react. A second later, Scarlet managed to swing her sword to block his thrust. The two fought from one end of the court to the other, neither giving an inch. For a fleeting moment, Scarlet almost hit Dale. He praised and encouraged her. "You've improved a lot." Scarlet looked annoyed, not accepting the compliment. "Still can't compare to you." Dale laughed and teased her more. "Did I tease you too much?" Scarlet was fed up and ignored him. "Anyway, you're already a third circle mage, and you've passed level 20 of the tower. Since then, everyone's been young Master Dale this, young Master Dale that. Aren't you sick of it, seeing her like that?" Dale wanted to comfort her. "Don't worry, you'll get stronger too." Hearing that, Scarlet's face flushed red. Dale thought to himself, she's only 10 after all. Scarlet is already exceptional by any standard. Then, though embarrassed, she still acted haughty. "Hey, don't treat me like a kid." Dale corrected her. "But you are a kid." "So are you." Dale pointed to himself. "Me, I'm already grown up." She waved her hand dismissively. Yeah, whatever." Very quickly, their sparring match ended. Now, young Master Dale and Tiamat sat facing each other, with game pieces laid out on a board. The overview of today's lesson caught Dale's attention: the hammer and anvil tactic. When cavalry is positioned on one or both of the enemy's flanks, as if predicting the outcome, he immediately said the key is the cavalry. They need to break through the enemy's wing and encircle them. Tiamat nodded. Exactly. The hammer and anvil tactic is named so because it's like placing iron on an anvil and striking it with a hammer. This is a tactic that relies heavily on cavalry. Dale rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Indeed, this is only feasible with the Black Knights. No matter the world, the fighting methods are similar. Ah, he suddenly remembered. Oh, right, how is Scarlet's training coming along? Tiamat stroked his chin and thought for a moment. Scarlet's progress. Although it can't compare to yours, it's still quite extraordinary. The young lady has a solid foundation in swordsmanship. Soon she will master aura. And the swordsmanship of Saxon. Yes, but there is one concern. Dale guessed it. The compatibility between Scarlet's swordsmanship and ours. Right mages refine mana into magic using this magic circle in their heart. Knights, however, refine mana through a technique that converts it into aura. Mages build magic towers to master their philosophies. Knights form orders to pass down their sword techniques. Among them, the Northern Black Knights are like war chariots charging straight ahead. The strength of the Knight, Crow Knight Order, is a prime example of crushing the battlefield with pure power. The problem is Scarlet's sword technique focuses more on speed and fluid movements, wielding a light and agile sword. With that talent, she could reach the lowest rank of the 7 great swords, but she will never become the greatest sword. A sword style both powerful and graceful. Once wielded by the leader of the 7 great swords, who was Scarlet's father. Thinking of this, Dale was slightly distracted and uttered, "Flower sword." Tiamat understood. His face saddened. If only that sword style still existed. Tiamat recounted. But it was lost with the fall of the Night Kingdom. Dale stared at the knight piece on the board, his heart full of sympathy. Is it really gone from this world? After that, Dale's days became even more restless. While balancing monster slaying and his studies, his reputation continued to grow. It's time to show the results of my training. Ellen, having just heard the shocking news, exclaimed, "What?" The neighboring territory under Baron Parker has declared war to seize ownership of your copper mine. The merchant confirmed, "Yes, my lord." Dale rubbed his chin, confused. In this world, the borders between lands and nations are not clearly defined. But a lower-ranking noble, daring to challenge a higher-ranking noble, is unheard of. The merchant who had just reported took a letter from his pocket. If you refuse to hand over the mine and accept the declaration of war, Count Brandon Book has sided with the Baron. In addition, this letter says he is prepared to send the Holy Knights of Magdalena in exchange for a share of the mine's profits. Upon hearing this, both father and son understood what was happening. Dale gritted his teeth in anger. So that's how you want to play. He still hasn't forgotten the humiliation from that day. Fine, we'll give him a taste of his own medicine. Dale's expression grew more and more menacing. He thought to himself, Count Brandon Book, is this the game you want to play? Since that day, he must have only thought about avenging the humiliation he suffered at the hands of the Black Duke. But launching a direct territorial war would be too difficult. So he chose a border region, a place where it's difficult to intervene directly to settle matters. He cursed under his breath. What a despicable coward. Then Dale turned to his father and said, "Father, I will personally command this battle, along with the knights of House Saxon." However, before he could say more, his father cut him off. "No, it's still too soon for you to take command." Seeing Dale's surprised expression, he continued his analysis. "Don't say such reckless things. War with humans is different from subjugating monsters." After saying this, he turned to the other man. "Baron Greenbelt, please don't worry, I will protect your mine." Greenbelt heard this, thanked him, and then left. Only Dale remained standing dazedly beside him, looking as sad as if he'd lost his lunch money. Later, when they were outside, he let out a helpless sigh. Then followed a long string of complaints to Tiamat. I thought I could do it better than anyone. Why won't he listen to me? Seeing him like this, Tiamat quickly reassured him. Young master, please don't be too troubled by the Duke's words. You must be disappointed. But he surely has his reasons. Instead, I've prepared something for you. Instantly, Tiamat brought out a game board and said, Would you like to try learning a game with me? Dale was a bit surprised to see the object before him. This is, he thought to himself. This game is very similar to chess, but here it's called by a different name. War game. Seeing that Dale knew the name of the game, Tiamat seemed very happy. So the young master knows of it. Then he explained, This is a game that simulates real warfare. The rules are very complex, but mastering it will be very useful. If the young master and I compete and discuss the art of war in depth. However, before he could finish, Dale snatched the game board and ran off happily shouting, Heh, this is it. Seeing this, Tiamat called after him, Young master, where are you going? A moment later, who knows what Dale said. But the Duke looked extremely surprised and asked, What? If I win this competition, will you allow me to participate in the territorial war? Even after hearing everything I said, you still don't intend to change your mind. Dale answered firmly. I understand that war is not just a clash of strength, but a profound contest of strategy. Please, Father, judge me through this game. Hearing this, the Duke's expression remained ice-cold. Tiamat, fearing his young master would get a beating, quickly interjected. Please forgive us, Your Grace. I'll persuade the young master. However, just as they were about to leave, the Duke called them back. No need, let's do it. If you win, I will allow you to do as you wish. Hearing this, Dale's face immediately brightened. Thank you for trusting me, Father. However, the Duke added, But if you lose, you must give up participating in this battle. And so the father and son had a one-on-one match, a very intense exchange of moves. The more they played, the more intense it got. After a while, Tiamat seemed to lose his composure and exclaimed, Holy crap! The young master won. He glanced over, thinking to himself, even though the Duke went easy on young Master Dale, giving him an advantage in numbers and favorable terrain, he still managed to defeat Duke Saxon with a score of 2-1. Then Dale spoke up. Father, you will keep your promise, won't you? Hearing this, the Duke could only manage a forced smile and reply, It seems so. Then he asked, So when did you learn to play this game? Dale scratched his head and replied, I happened to find the rulebook in the library a few years ago and started studying it. He said this, but in his heart he thought, Of course that's a lie. If I didn't say that, people would think I'm even more of a weirdo. At this point, the Duke stood up and said, A promise is a promise. In the name of House Saxon, I entrust the command of the knights in this battle to you. Hearing this, Tiamat said worriedly, But Your Grace. Before he could finish, the Duke added, But no matter how high my expectations are for you, with the honor of House Saxon on the line, defeat is absolutely unacceptable. His expression became serious. I will ask you one last time. Can you truly bear the full responsibility for this battle? Dale answered without hesitation. Yes, please believe in me, Father. I will prove that I can succeed. Hearing these words from his son made the Duke extremely pleased. His expression brightened as he said, Very well. Return only after you have proven the results of your training. And so, sometime later at Castle Manbook of Count Brandon, Book the old man was roaring with anger. You've been drinking and carousing in the slums again. Philip, rumor has it that the young master of House Saxon will personally command the knights. What in the world are you doing? Philip, the old man's godforsaken son still holding a wine bottle, staggered and replied, Don't worry, Father. Our opponent is just a 10-year-old kid. Please let me and your knights crush that arrogant brat from House Saxon. These words, far from appeasing the old man, were like adding fuel to the fire. Brandon gritted his teeth and slammed his hand on the table, shouting, Did you just call him a 10-year-old kid? Seeing this, Philip stammered, Yes, But before he could finish, Brandon glared and continued. That arrogant brat from House Saxon, you say? He is a monster that even in 100 years, you wouldn't be worthy to touch the hem of his clothes. You are a useless insect. Worse than a 10-year-old kid. Then the old man thought, I should have secured Charlotte sooner. At this point, Brandon continued, In this battle, I will grant you command of the knights. Hearing this, Philip beamed and replied, Yes, I understand. Seeing his attitude, Brandon became angry again and roared, What are you so happy about? On the battlefield, you are completely useless. These words stung Philip, and he quickly asked, I don't understand what you mean, Father. Brandon explained, The entire war will be commanded by Milvis. You will only serve in a nominal role. Then he ordered, Milvis, get Philip out of here immediately. Watching his son being dragged away, he fumed to himself, Damn it! If it were me, I would have taken the field myself. But I can't possibly go all out against a child. Could it be that from the beginning, all of this was your plan? Meanwhile, on Dale's side, he was incredibly pleased to have finally won over his father. Everything passed by like that, until a few days later at Castle Greenbelt. At this moment, Baron Greenbelt was living up to his name, his face green as he stared ahead. When the hooves stopped, it was time for the standard-bearer to dismount. Everyone present shouted in unison, "It is an honor to meet young Master Dale of House Saxon." Then Greenbelt immediately asked, "You must be tired after your long journey." However, it was a fact that the knights at Castle Greenbelt were extremely skeptical of Dale's presence. They couldn't stop whispering among themselves, "Good heavens, he really is just a child. I wonder if he even knows how to hold a sword. But rumor has it he's a genius. Well, let's just wait and see." Back to the conversation, Greenbelt continued. "Having the young master here makes me feel much more secure." Dale replied politely, "Thank you, Baron Greenbelt." Although he spoke confidently, inside the Baron's heart was nothing but a mess. He worried to himself, "I can't believe they actually sent a 10-year-old boy, even with the Black Knights as escort. He's still too green to have full command." Then Greenbelt added, "First, please enjoy the welcoming feast prepared in the castle." However, Dale replied bluntly, "No, we don't have much time to waste." His words left Greenbelt full of doubt. "I'm sorry, but what do you mean?" Instantly, Dale drew his sword and pointed it straight at Greenbelt, saying, "First, I want to inspect the condition of your forces. Among those under your command, who is the strongest?" He pointed the tip of his sword directly at Baron Greenbelt's face. He asked seriously, "Among those you lead, who is the strongest?" Beside him, a red-haired young man spoke up firmly. "That would be me, young master." This young man was Habak. He pointed at himself and said confidently, "Me, young master. The person here who could defeat me hasn't been born yet." He thought to himself, "This little brat got his position thanks to his family. How dare he carry a sword around? I'll teach you a lesson." Dale glanced at him, staring intently. After a few seconds, he sheathed his sword, twirled it slightly, and spoke. "It seems you all here doubt my abilities," he continued confidently. "For such an important battle without any discussion, you'd entrust everything to a 10-year-old child." He slammed his sword into the ground and said confidently, "I also doubt the abilities of the soldiers that the Duke commands. But the surest way to resolve our mutual suspicion is with the sword," he said with a sarcastic tone. "But hey, the strongest knight the Duke is so proud of is a drunken soldier. At this point, even if I didn't doubt, haven't you already proven it yourself? Are you perhaps using alcohol for courage?" These words made Habak extremely angry, and he gritted his teeth. Then he drew the sword at his hip and replied confidently, "I understand, young master." He pointed his sword at him and shouted coldly, "I, Habak, swear on my honor as a knight to prove the strength of the Baron's family." His declaration made Dale smile with amusement. Then the two of them stepped out to face each other in the middle of the courtyard. He rested his sword on his shoulder and turned to ask him, "You've surely heard of my sword, haven't you?" He scratched his head and chuckled. "Haha, I'm well aware of the young master's strange sword technique." This smile made Dale frown slightly, thinking to himself, "Where on earth does this guy get his confidence? Does he have some kind of backing?" As soon as the words were spoken, Habak took his stance, preparing to attack. He shouted, "Here I come!" The words had barely left his mouth when he launched himself toward Dale. His sword struck straight at him, but he quickly used mana to surround his body. Then he directly blocked the slash with his arm. But this action made Habak frown in suspicion. He then unleashed a continuous series of slashes, but he easily blocked them all with just one arm. His eyes were cold as he looked at him and thought, "There's no aura on his blade. Only a few high-ranking knights can use an aura blade, even so against an opponent giving their all. I should return the favor a little, shouldn't I?" Following that thought, he took a step back, got into a stance and summoned a magic circle on his arm, unleashing a large amount of magic, covering the ground where Habak was standing. This took Habak completely by surprise, causing him to exclaim, "What on earth is this?" He gritted his teeth, watching the beams of magic rushing towards him. After a brief hesitation, he swung his sword, dispelling the incoming magic beams. He cursed in anger. "This damn artifact won't stop attacking. I'm getting distracted because of that damned artifact." Over here, he was still casually launching magical attacks, forcing the other man to struggle to defend himself. He thought to himself, his skills are just average. But then his gaze suddenly sharpened. "What the?" In a moment of carelessness, Habak was hit by his magic beams, knocking him to the ground. He cried out in pain. Seeing this, Baron Greenbelt ran over worriedly, calling out, "Sir? Sir Habak, are you all right?" His eyes showed a hint of surprise as he thought to himself, seriously, he went down that easily. The man looked towards him with concern, asking, "Young Master Dale, what is the meaning of this?" He gritted his teeth, thinking for a moment, then spoke. "Baron Greenbelt, do you not understand your current situation? With that level of skill, only our Saxon family will have to struggle in this battle. Are you, Baron, planning to just stand by and watch comfortably?" These words made Greenbelt's face turn pale. He stammered, that is, he looked at his opponent mockingly. Is this really the strongest knight you're so proud of? Then he placed a hand on his chest and said confidently, the Saxon family does not hesitate to become a shield for our loyal families. But that doesn't mean you're allowed to neglect your own duties. Therefore, until the battle begins, our duchy's knights will be your sword. Then he returned to the main point. Now make your choice. Follow me or lose the very foundation of your life. After they hesitated for a long while, suddenly as if on cue, the entire group knelt on one knee. They lowered their heads and spoke in unison. We swear our absolute loyalty. Cut to the Saxon family estate. Meanwhile, Ellen was comforting his wife. There's no need to worry so much. That child, to a degree we can't even imagine, is a child who possesses a great many things. Later, when Dale grows up, the world that child will create is something even I can hardly picture. He smiled and continued. Our son will one day become the master of this world. Back to Dale. Right now he was tearing his hair out, screaming internally. This is hopeless. I was such a frog in a well. And I've realized just how terrible the world outside the well truly is. They're all just a motley crew. The Sword Saint. Sam must have known the situation in this territory beforehand, which is why he assigned Baron Greenbelt's territory. If that's the case, I have a plan of my own. And cut to the next day. At the Greenbelt family's training grounds, Habak currently had a tired expression on his face as he dragged an enormous rock behind him. After he could no longer continue, he collapsed to his knees on the ground, panting. I beg you please no more. Helmuth approached and shouted, You're already down for the count after just that. Get up, you weakling, and you dare call yourself a Knight of the North. He stammered in reply. No, I'm a wounded soldier. Over on this side, he rested his chin on his hand, mocking, It hasn't been that long and you're already complaining. Drill the Baron's knights. Greenbelt on every single detail, starting with physical training, because none of them are up to standard. Yes. Helmuth nodded in agreement. Yes, I understand. He continued, in addition, send someone to the territory of Baron Parker and inform him that I wish to propose negotiations. The person beside him questioned, negotiations. He nodded in confirmation. That's right. I don't intend to accept some humiliating peace treaty. It's just that before we enter a battle, there's a face I'd like to see first. Cut to the negotiation site, located on the border between the two baronies. Inside the negotiation tent, only Dale was currently seated. His eyes showed a serious expression. He thought, we have a few weeks at most. The Holy Knight Order of Magdalena is on a long march across the continent. With their poor supply situation, it's highly likely they'll launch a preemptive strike. Furthermore, Baron Parker's forces are not to be underestimated. As soon as he saw two people enter, the young man with glasses turned and whispered to him. Lord Philip has entered. Looking towards them, the corner of Dale's mouth curled into a slight smile as he thought, just as expected. They sent two people, and the one supposedly in charge looks completely hollow. Commander Philip? They even wrapped him up carefully before bringing him here. And standing behind him is the real deal Sir Milvis, the actual field commander for this battle. Dale spoke up in greeting. Hello, Lord Philip? The man didn't reply. He just smiled, sat down, and said in a mocking tone, You want to negotiate after all this time, you little brat? Looks like you've pissed your pants. At the thought of a real fight, haven't you? Dale didn't pay any attention to this taunt. He immediately asked directly, Why did you agree to my request for negotiations? Philip maintained a condescending expression and sneered. The reason is... Before he could finish, Dale interrupted. I wasn't asking you. This took Philip by surprise. What? Dale smiled and continued. I'm not speaking to the puppet who was pushed forward as the scarecrow for this battle. I'm speaking to the real commander standing behind you. Sir Milvis the Pure Sword. Milvis's expression tightened, showing anger. As for Philip, his face was drained of all color as he asked loudly, What did you just say? Dale answered confidently, Am I wrong? Otherwise, why would a sword saint entrust the command of an entire battlefield to someone with not a shred of talent? Hearing these words, Philip became furious. Seeing this, Milvis from behind spoke up. Lord Philip, don't let his words sway you. Philip growled, These bastards, Milvis thought angrily. The fact that Count Brandon considers Philip a mistake, an insult, is a secret only a few of us know. So how the hell does this kid know? Dale continued his taunts. How does it feel to know that even your own respected father doesn't have an ounce of faith in you? Just as things were about to explode out of control, Milvis raised a hand to stop him. This negotiation is over. Lord Philip, we have no reason to remain here. Let's return immediately. Philip's hands were clenched so tightly in anger they were trembling. That's right, Dale added more sarcasm. You even need to ask permission to speak. You're bowing your head and taking orders from someone of lower rank. You look no different from a slave. Is that a fitting look? For the firstborn son of a count, this is like a dog on its master's leash. Philip repeated angrily. A dog on its master's leash. Philip's emotions were spiraling out of control. Milvis turned to reassure him. Lord Philip, don't listen to him. But Philip cut him off loudly. Shut up! Then the two of them started shouting at each other. Dale on his side watched with amusement and added fuel to the fire. At this rate, I really don't know if you're the Sword Saint's puppet or Sir Milvis's puppet. He smiled to himself. My entire strategy is to throw the enemy command into disarray. I never intended to negotiate from the start. Then he turned and said to the person beside him, Sir Bear, please step outside for a moment. Bear nodded in obedience, Lord Dale. After he left, Dale looked at the other two and smiled. Now can we speak privately? Just between the two of us? The highest-ranking commanders, who are truly responsible for this battlefield. This sarcastic remark made Philip shout, Fine. Milvis was worried. Lord Philip, Philip interrupted. Let us discuss, Sir Milvis. Didn't you hear what the highest-ranking commander said? Milvis was flustered. But Lord, Philip cut him off again. Dealing with that Saxon brat is my responsibility. Realizing the problem, Milvis thought worriedly. This is bad. He's fallen completely for the trap. Though reluctant, Milvis still had to nod in obedience. Then he left. When only the two remained, Dale praised. Thank you, Lord Philip. As I said, I requested this meeting purely to negotiate. Philip retorted, You mean you think you can persuade me? Dale nodded. That's right. If the Holy Knight Order of Magdalena withdraws from this battle, the House of Saxon will provide all necessary provisions for your army's journey back. The offer took Philip completely by surprise. What? He slammed the table, jumped to his feet, and shouted, You dare call that a negotiation? Dale replied calmly, That's exactly what it is. He added, And I apologize if my earlier words offended you. However, please withdraw your troops. His voice suddenly hardened, carrying a threat. Otherwise your army will be annihilated. Hundreds of knights will be taken prisoner. Furthermore, the Sword Saint's reputation will be ruined, and your name will be dragged through the mud. This is your last chance to retain even a shred of dignity. The corner of Philip's mouth twitched, and then he laughed loudly. Ha, Sir Milvis was right. You intended to mock us from the very beginning. Dale also laid his cards on the table. It's a pity, but this is your last chance. Philip was startled. What are you talking about? Aren't you afraid of me? Dale explained confidently. When this battle is lost, the one who will bear the blame won't be Sir Milvis, the real commander, but the useless, incompetent firstborn son of the Count. This enraged Philip even more, but he tried to remain calm. Stop talking nonsense. You won't be smirking for long. Soon, I will prove myself to everyone here. But to that declaration, Dale replied cheerfully, Please hold on to that confidence for as long as you can. And so the negotiation failed. A while later at Baron Greenbelt's territory, a soldier was observing through a spyglass. Milvis approached from behind. What's the situation? Any movement from the enemy? The soldier replied, The knights of the Saxon family have begun to mobilize. Hearing this, Milvis's eyes narrowed as he thought, That child of the Saxon family. That gaze, that composure? He is absolutely no amateur. Even though he's just a 10-year-old boy, he is not an opponent we can afford to underestimate. But this is our chance. While he's still just a 10-year-old child, we must cut him down and decisively stop his growth. He turned and said to the soldiers, We will teach that insolent brat a lesson. In silence. Over on this side, Habak rushed over to report Lord Dale. The enemy's main force has started to move. This was not outside of his predictions. Dale maintained a calm expression. Well done. After finishing gearing up, he turned, raised his sword high, and spoke to everyone. O swords of the Saxon family, your time has come. Let us show them the bloodline worthy of that name. At his call, the entire group raised their swords in unison and roared with determination. The battle between the two sides now erupted. As soon as the horn sounded, the soldiers of both sides charged and clashed, fighting fiercely. From a distance, Milvis was now leading a squadron into the battle. He shouted, "1st Cavalry Division charge!" He outlined the plan in his head. The key to this battle is to stop the Black Crow, Knight Order of the Saxon family. However, the current situation still doesn't allow for an assessment of the Black Crow Knight Order's firepower. Therefore, to guard against unforeseen incidents, I must place Lord Philip in the center of the formation, not at the front, and Baron Parker's forces will be positioned on the left flank to hold back the Greenbelt Knight Order. Meanwhile, Brandon Book's most elite troops, under my command, will attack the flank of the Saxons' Black Crow Knight Order, the center and left flank. It will use direct engagement tactics to halt the enemy's attack. Immediately after he turned and reminded the soldiers, "We cannot miss this opportunity." At that moment, a soldier suddenly shouted, "It's dangerous!" Another one charged bravely into the fight. For the Count's family, the two sides clashed endlessly. Then the red-haired man at the back noticed something. His gaze suddenly stopped. Dale was now approaching from behind. "It won't go as you wish." Seeing him, two soldiers turned back, sighing in relief. "We're saved." They shouted in unison, "It's young Master Dale!" Young Master Dale has come to the front lines himself. He reminded everyone, no one retreats, fight to the end. For the Saxon family, following his command, they all charged forward. Back on their side, Milvis praised, "It seems from the beginning he intended to use his main force to decide the outcome. Using himself as bait, he's no ordinary person. But this is exactly what I wanted." He then raised his weapon high and shouted, "For Saint Magdalena! For the family of Count Brandenburg! Everyone charge!" A soldier shouted, "Don't let anyone get near the young master. All troops advance." The two sides clashed like a storm, making the atmosphere more suffocating than ever. Milvis on his side commanded, "Strike fast, win fast, 1st Cavalry Division. Follow me. Take down young Master Dale and end this battle. Prove your title as elites today." Here he charged forward and killed a soldier, but was immediately prepared to be attacked by another soldier from the side. He was ready to attack, just as the spear tip was about to touch his neck. With his agility, Milvis easily swung his weapon back and killed the soldier. And then he went on a mad rampage like a wild beast. After a while, he suddenly sensed something. Something is very strange. How are we able to overwhelm the enemy's elite troops like this? The Black Crow Knight Order is being pushed back more easily than I thought. On the other side, someone shouted, "Retreat! Retreat now, reform of the lines." Milvis continued to think, "Aren't they the Black Knights? The ones renowned as the destroyers of the battlefield. But what is this feeling of being out of place?" A soldier ran up to report. "Sir Knight Commander, a report." Baron Parker, in charge of the left flank, is struggling to hold on. At this, Milvis was startled. "What?" The left flank cut to Baron Parker's side. He was completely surprised by what was happening before his eyes. Why are the fools from Greenbelt able to use aura in the central position? A soldier approached to report. "Lord Philip, there's a request for reinforcements from the left flank led by Baron Parker. The Aura Knights of the Saxon family are breaking through Baron Parker's lines." Another soldier added, "Impossible. How could the Aura Knights get there?" Then he turned and asked, "My lord, what will you do now?" He gritted his teeth, remembering what Dale had said before. "In the end, the responsibility will fall on the useless firstborn of the Count." He thought angrily, "I will not let things go according to that kid's wishes." Yet another soldier approached from behind to report. "My lord, this is a message from Sir Milvis. Merge the cavalry, center and rear guards into Baron Parker's left flank to reinforce the defense." Hearing the name Milvis made Philip shout in anger. "Shut up!" He turned back. "Gather all the rear guard cavalry to my position," he ordered. "I will break through their right flank before our left flank falls. I will kill that damned Dale brat." The soldier returned to report, "Knight Commander. The young lord is leading the rear guard cavalry and heading this way himself." This took Milvis completely by surprise. "What?" he exclaimed. He held his head in frustration. "I told him to save the left flank, that damned brat," he thought to himself. The forces on the right flank already had the advantage over the enemy's weaker left flank. Sending in more troops only makes the infantry too crowded and hinders mobility. And that idiot is now blinded by the thought of killing at the enemy commander, ignoring the request for aid from our allies who are on the defensive, and making a flawed judgment. At this rate, the left flank will be completely broken through, and we will be surrounded by the enemy. Then suddenly a soldier ran up to report, "Sir Commander, we must retreat." Then suddenly a clear voice rang out. "No, not yet." This voice caught everyone's attention. It was Dale. He was facing them directly. "This battle is not over yet," he declared. Seeing his confident gaze, Milvis became enraged. He shouted, That look of certain victory, I'll break it." He immediately raised his sword high and roared to boost morale. "1st Cavalry Battalion, there is only one way out." At his call, the soldiers were now filled with determination. "Give me the order." "Please give the order." "Give the order." He, along with all the soldiers, held his sword out in front of him and began to pray. "In the name of Saint Magdalena, may this pure sword be blessed. May the goddess Sistina protect us. May the love and mercy of the sister goddesses always be with us." After finishing the prayer, his eyes opened wide with determination. "All right, we will break through the enemy lines and take the enemy general's head. Raise your swords and follow me." A loud roar accompanied by the sound of hooves from behind now rang out. "For Saint Magdalena!" The loud shout caught Dale's attention. He smiled to himself. "You're only chasing now. The vision of someone on the front lines is always easily narrowed. The pressure and impatience of war will cloud their judgment. Perhaps even Sir Milvis cannot escape that weight." Seeing the technique he was about to unleash, Milvis exclaimed in surprise, "Is that magic?" Dale immediately used his ice bullet technique. He spoke mockingly. "What is this, the first time you've seen magic?" As soon as he spoke, the arrow in his hand was released, flying straight forward, striking a horse and causing it to collapse instantly. Witnessing that scene left Milvis completely stunned. A shot from the back of a galloping horse with such accuracy, the projectile magic itself is already astounding. But without the combination of technique and excellent skill, it's impossible to even imitate that skill. Dale now confidently put his hand behind his back. "Rise, O walls of—" As soon as the words were spoken in front of Milvis's men, a giant ice wall instantly appeared, completely blocking their path. The soldier, seeing it, shouted, "The path has been completely blocked by an ice wall." Realizing the opportunity, Dale turned and reminded everyone, "Now is the time all troops counterattack." At his call, they all charged straight forward to attack. "Don't let their swords touch the young master. Offer up your lives to become a shield for the young master." One by one, they were cut down, causing Milvis to hold his head in anger. "I've been completely trapped. Their goal wasn't to take me down, but to protect their commander and buy time." On top of that, Philip made the worst possible move. Because of Lord Philip, the central infantry is clumped up on the right flank, causing our entire front line to be grotesquely distorted. He cursed angrily, "Damn it! Then the only way left is—" Without a moment's hesitation, he swung his sword and charged straight into the ice wall, shattering it and coming face to face with Dale. He shouted, "This is the end, young Master Dale. Let me personally see you off." Witnessing the approaching blade, Dale's expression remained confident. Then only fresh blood was seen spurting out. By dusk, Milvis's entire army had been defeated. Some were taken prisoner. Dale looked at them and let out a sigh. He thought to himself, "The overconfidence in the power of an Aura Knight still hasn't changed, has it?" The combat doctrine built by the Magdalena Knight Order sometimes becomes their most fatal weakness. Because the jailer who watched over me in my past life was the sword saint who led that very Knight Order. Therefore, whether I wanted to or not, I knew it like the back of my hand. Everything about the Holy Knight Order of Magdalena that he led. From behind, someone approached to report young Master Dale. Baron Greenbelt's knights have broken through the left flank. The left flank commander, Baron Parker, has also been captured alive. This did not fall outside of Milvis's predictions. He gritted his teeth and cursed because of that idiot Philip. Dale approached and said, "It seems you really don't trust young master." "Philip, very much do you," he replied with frustration. "You set a trap from the beginning to lure us in." Dale continued, "The battlefield is always chaotic, and no one can predict what will happen. To bring about one's own destruction amidst continuous chaos is ultimately due to one's own stupidity." He declared confidently, "Following the great tradition of the Empire, I will grant mercy to those who use a few gold coins to beg for their lives. Will you also beg for your lives?" Hearing this, a soldier shouted angrily, "Don't mock me, I would rather die than beg." Dale showed an amused expression. "Oh, is that so? Then go die." He snapped his fingers. A magic bullet pierced straight through the soldier's chest. Then he turned and asked, "Sir Milvis, what will you do now?" Milvis thought for a moment in silence. Then, he bowed his head deeply to the astonishment of the soldiers behind him. He uttered, "Sir General." He thought to himself, "I can't die here. I must inform the knights that this man is truly dangerous." He ordered the soldiers, "Everyone kneel. We will surrender according to the traditions of the Empire and request fair treatment as prisoners of war." Dale was quite surprised by this choice. He spoke, "You would even kneel to beg for your lives?" He thought to himself, provoking him further is useless. But Dale suddenly cut through his thoughts. "No, no one will leave this place alive." He cheerfully commanded, "Kill them all for me. Even the Knights of the Black Crow?" Knight Order were momentarily stunned. They held their breath at those words, because according to imperial custom, releasing knight prisoners for ransom was common practice. Nevertheless, Dale's voice was incredibly firm, and so one by one they were sent to the next world by Dale's soldiers. For the Knights of the Saxon family, Dale's command was more absolute than anything else, and on this scene, there was one last person who had brought about his own doom. Milvis gritted his teeth and cursed, "You filthy thing." He jumped up and shouted, "You think I'll go down that easily?" But as the words left his mouth, a spear came from behind, piercing straight through his chest. He fell helplessly to the ground. Dale approached and said quietly, "Sir Milvis, do you remember my death?" The incomprehensible words surprised Milvis. Dale cheerfully reminded him that night, "I remember your face was there. Your master plunged a blade into my back, and you were there too." "I'll ask one more time. Young knight, do you remember my death?" Realizing something, Milvis exclaimed in fear, "No, no way. You actually survived and came back from that?" "You persistent bastard." Not letting him say another word, Dale immediately summoned his black magic, piercing through his body countless times. His expression was a little crazed. Yes, now I feel a little more relieved.